All right, guys, what is going on? I hope everyone is doing well today. Welcome to episode 36 of Press X Podcast. Appreciate you guys being here and waiting patiently. I know that sometimes the 5-minute wait in the beginning can be tough, but it's a nice way to allow everybody to kind of file in so they don't miss anything. And so I want to, first of all, acknowledge the fact that we took last week off with the podcast. Last Sunday, I took a little break, and I'm sure you guys are, understanding of that. So I appreciate you bearing with me on that one. KM is what I will call you, saying, "What's up, man? How are you?" Well, what's going on, buddy? I'm doing good. I'm feeling pretty good today. So thank you for asking, and I appreciate that super chat, my friend. We have some, I'd say, relatively interesting topics to talk about. I don't want to overhype anything because, a lot of stuff that we're going to be going over is stuff that I just kind of want to go into more detail with and kind of interact with you guys and get your thoughts on it. But we do have some other stuff that I haven't talked about yet this week on the channel. We're going to be talking about the PlayStation 5 UI, or UX is what I guess Sony is calling it. A lot of people are asking, what does UX stand for? That stands for user experience. So they're calling it that because I don't know, I guess they're just trying to let you know that it's going to be an entire experience. So we're going to be talking more about that. I just want to kind of honestly gauge what you guys think about it. I did put out a poll earlier this week where we talked about the UI, and I was asking your guys' opinion and how you guys vote. And the results were pretty telling, in my opinion. So we're going to talk all about that. Other topics, we are going to talk about next-gen console anticipation in general, because we are just a few weeks away from the launch, and I kind of just want to gauge how everybody's feeling about it. Is your excitement increasing? Is it decreasing? Is it the same? So we're just going to have a general conversation about that. We're going to be talking more about Phil Spencer's comments when it comes to, Bethesda's games and exclusivity. I made a video yesterday about that, and it was interesting to see the response because a lot of people seem to have taken Phil Spencer's comments one way or the other, and a lot of you were leaning towards one direction. So I want to talk about that a little bit more. Omni, thank you so much for that $5 super chat. I really appreciate that. We're also going to be talking about, let me see here. Okay, so this one's kind of interesting. It is a rumor, and I didn't make a dedicated video on it. I thought we could just talk about it during the podcast. It actually has to do with Microsoft potentially in the final stages of another acquisition, a major acquisition of some sort. I've seen some people talking about this, and, we have to understand that this is certainly one of those rumors where it's just a person saying something and we don't have anything else to go off of. But, some of you guys were asking me to talk about that, and I thought, okay, why not? We can bring that up and talk about the likelihood of that being a rumor that actually comes true or not. And then finally, we're going to talk all about PlayStation party chats, because it seems that Sony has really, kind of upset a lot of people, understandably so, with some of the, I guess we could say, unnecessary changes to party chat and the whole voice recording thing. And there are some significant updates to this. For those wondering why I haven't talked about it yet, it's because I had a pretty good feeling that Sony was going to be saying more, and there was going to be more on, to learn about this whole party chat situation. And turns out that was exactly the case here. And so, yeah, we certainly have some interesting things to say about that. So, yeah, we're going to get into these topics here. If you could do me a favor, guys, hit that like button. Let's see if we can get to 200 likes, maybe even 250 likes. That would really help the podcast out. I also want to just give a shout out to all of my channel members. Thank you guys for being supporters of the channel and choosing to support me directly. It really does help a lot. And I know that because last week we took a break from the podcast, the credits didn't roll. So just want to give a shout out to you guys. But yeah, I'm going to let the credits roll a little bit longer, and then I'll put up some Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War beta gameplay. I don't know if any of you guys have been playing the Cold War beta. There's certainly been some major changes made. You guys know I really enjoyed myself with the alpha, and I saw a lot of people complaining with the beta because apparently it just feels different. And I agree, it does feel different. It seems like they changed the time to kill a little bit, or there's just something going on with the network. But I've been playing for a little bit now, and I've been enjoying it. I have not had the chance yet to play Ghost of Tsushima Legends. I do plan to dive into that very soon. I've been hearing really, really good things about Ghost of Tsushima Legends. So, you guys in the chat, let me know, have you been playing either of these games? For those of you who have been playing Ghost of Tsushima Legends, what do you think about that? I'm excited to dive into it because I've been following what some people are saying, and people are hyped, man. Like, they're like, this is like a full-blown game, and they're shocked that it's free. So I would have made that a topic to discuss today, but as I said, I didn't get around to actually trying it out yet. So maybe that'll have to wait till next week. Let me see here. We have Heisenberg. Thank you for that super chat, buddy. You're saying Twitter Uzi. I don't know. It's gonna be another one of those days, guys. I do have my coffee. Don't worry, I have my coffee. But you know, Twitter user Kitty Yuko leaked info that the Xbox Series X GPU architecture is missing features that class it as full RDNA 2. Series X is running RDNA 1 and 2. I guess, well, I've seen a lot of people bringing this up to me recently and asking me to talk about it. And before I get more into that, I see a lot of you guys saying that Ghost of Tsushima Legends is awesome. It's amazing. Yeah, dude, I can't wait to try it out. It sounds really good. But when it comes to the whole Xbox Series X being RDNA 1 and 2, um, there's really not too much I have to say about that because I don't really care too much whether it's true or not. I mean, we are at a point where, look, there's an elephant in the room, obviously. And the elephant in the room is that maybe MBG goes off the rails sometimes. Maybe MBG takes things a little bit too far. Maybe sometimes MBG just says things that just, it's like, really? Like, is it all that? And, you know, I have had no problems in the past admitting that I make mistakes, obviously. And I feel like sometimes it's too easy to get caught up in the things that aren't really that important. And we all need to be humbled at times. That's all I'm trying to say. And so when it comes to the idea that the Xbox Series X could potentially, if, again, I have not looked into it, so I cannot say whether or not I believe this is a definitive thing. I'd have to do my research. But based off of what I've been hearing, it seems that there are credible sources, there's credible information coming out that this may actually be the case. And the thing that makes this interesting to a lot of PlayStation fans is, if you've been following the whole, next gen console conversation for, I don't know, like the past year and a half, that's a big part of the conversation, or at least at certain points, it's been about what about RDNA 1 and RDNA 2. And, there are a lot of individuals who have said that the PlayStation 5 isn't really RDNA 2, it's RDNA 1.5. And, I've said in the past when talking about that I don't think it really matters too much. I mean, you want the console to be the best it can be, but as I've said in the past, when it comes to the idea of next generation RDNA, architecture and whatnot, these consoles are very highly customized, and they're not just straight up using pure RDNA 2 or pure RDNA 1. They're just taking things that they think are going to benefit the console experience, whether they're RDNA 1, 2, or 3, right? Like, that's something we've heard as well, is that the PlayStation 5 has certain aspects of RDNA 3, but it's not really like that. It seems to me the way it works is Sony, and Microsoft, they have a collaboration, a collaborative effort that they're pursuing with AMD. And because of that, they're basically working together on new things. And if Sony comes up with something that they want to put into the console and AMD decides, hey, this is something we really like, we should put this in a future version of are RDNA or whatever, then yeah, that could be technically considered RDNA 3. But I think the reason why people are jumping all over, and thank you for that donation, okay, Kapapa, I really appreciate that. Thank you guys for the super chats. I think the reason why a lot of people are jumping on this and a lot of people are telling me you got to make a video on it, you got to talk about this, it's understandable. It's because there has been a lot of conversation that, oh, the PS5 is RDNA 1.5. It's not real RDNA 2. And so it does make it easy to be like, well, look at this. There's possibly some evidence pointing that the Xbox Series X is basically just that, right? And I get it, but at the end of the day, guys, I just don't really care too much. At this point in time, I mean, look, we are on the cusp of finally getting these consoles. As I said, one of the topics we're going to be discussing is just the anticipation. We are so close to the launch of the next generation consoles that it's, anybody who's going to buy an Xbox Series X, if they find out that, oh, it is RDNA 1 and 2, like, are you really going to cancel your pre-order and not get the Series X now because of that? Like, I just, look, something I've realized recently, I mean, I've known this the whole time, but it's just sometimes it becomes more clear. It's that there's just some stuff that it's just, you decide to pursue it, you're going to get entangled in it, and before you know it, you're losing sight of the bigger picture. And that's an issue I have at times where you just lose sight of the bigger picture, and I'm just trying not to do that at this point. Again, being so close to the console launch, we have to kind of now more than ever just realize that it's just about enjoying ourselves. And I know I go against that at times, and I know that I can come off as a hypocrite. I am well aware of that. And so, I guess I'm just not going to sit here and make it sound like, oh man, haha, look at that. Series X, possibly RDNA 1 and 2. Like, doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. There are things about the Series X that I don't prefer. Like, there are things that have come out about it that I don't necessarily think are concerning, but it's just more like, okay, like, that's not necessarily what I expected. But rather than sitting here and being like, let me tell you why this sucks, I just don't have the energy at this point in time to continue to do that. I'd rather just be like, well, you know what? It is what it is. Buy what you want, buy what you enjoy. I feel like at this point, that's all I really can say. The Wonderful Gaming Co., you're saying the toxic behavior on both sides is just sad. Competition breeds innovation, and both consoles are going to be super powerful and enjoyable. Yeah, I agree with that 100%, buddy. I think that, that's the thing about competition. You guys know that I've talked for a long time now about the idea of competition. The reason why I've been so toxic, I guess you could say, towards Xbox in the past or at certain times is because, I want to see them compete. And this is kind of a selfish one as well. I want to see them compete in the way that I want to see them compete. Competition comes in many different forms, and I think that's the thing that I'm learning these days. That I'm realizing that Microsoft is going to compete, but they're going to compete in their own way, and their own way of doing things isn't necessarily the traditional way. It may not even be a way that I fully agree with, but I'm starting to realize slowly that, this is something that's going to take time to really figure out and see. We're going to have to watch it unfold before us to know, like, is this really a viable way for Microsoft to compete? And, I think it might be, to whereas before I was like, I don't think so at all. You're seeing the landscape shift a little bit, and it starts to look like maybe they can compete in a different way that we weren't expecting. But I agree, man. That's the nature of competition. It's like a double-edged sword. It can become very toxic very quickly because it kind of leans towards that direction sometimes when you're trying to be ultra competitive. D-Doc, you're saying, good news. I finally got a PS5 pre-order. Bad news, made a deal with the devil to get it. Anyone got an extra soul lying around? Well, hey, man, sometimes you got to do what you got to do to get your hands on that pre-order, that PS5 pre-order, right? But I'm hoping that's true, though. I'm hoping you were able to get it. Hopefully not at the cost of your soul, though. That sounds pretty intense. Nintendo Power, you're saying, don't understand how the RDNA rumor perpetuated from an anonymous source. Even dusk bias was revealed for dogpiling. So why is this still a thing? Yeah, I do understand what you're saying there, Nintendo Power. It's a situation where, just like we're going to go over later in this podcast when we cover the latest Xbox rumor about a potential, new studio acquisition or company or publisher acquisition, I should say. It's one of these things where, you hear rumors from sources where it really is questionable. Like, is this something that could have truth to it, or is it more likely it's just something that somebody's peddling for a different reason, right? Like, there are people who put things out there because they want you to hear the truth, they want you to know. And then there are things that people put out there where it's like there's an agenda behind it. And sometimes it can get really muddy and it can be hard to determine, well, what's true and what's not. Misinformation, basically. It's a very common thing. And it's very easy to get wrapped up in when you are part of the internet. I think we can all agree on that. JG, you're saying you might have talked about this, but are there new PlayStation 5 headphones? Are they a gimmick or are they actually worth it? I actually haven't talked about that yet. And to be completely honest, I don't really know yet. I feel as though that this is one of those situations where I'm going to have to get my hands on them myself and test them out. I do have the PlayStation 4 Gold headset, I believe. I don't think it's the Platinum one. And it's pretty good, for the price I paid for it. And I'm trying to remember how much the new headphones are, the new headset for PlayStation. I think they're like $100, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe you guys chat can let me know. I should know considering I pre-ordered it, but that's why I'm so interested in getting these accessories sent out early, and hopefully everything goes smoothly. And okay, you're saying, yeah, it is 100. All right, I thought it was. And so you have to think about the price to performance ratio here. If you're going to buy $100 headset and you're going to expect it to perform like the Astros, right? Like an Astro A50 headset, like a $300 headset, I don't think that's going to work. Somebody's saying you're thinking of buying the SteelSeries Arctis 9. Yeah, I think I think more headsets are getting announced now. I saw that Turtle Beach announced a new headset that's compatible with the PS5. I also saw the Arctis 9 that you were mentioning. I don't know if that's a compatible headset or if that's one of the new ones that was revealed. But yeah, when it comes to how the headset's going to perform, for $100, I'm not expecting anything completely mind-blowing. I'm expecting something solid, something good, and hopefully something that can surpass my expectations, or at the very least, I expect it to meet my expectations. So if I do get the headset early, again, Sony is shipping out accessories early, apparently, if you order directly through their website. If that's true, then I should be receiving mine hopefully towards the end of the month. And obviously I can make some content for you guys here. Maybe do some unboxings potentially. I can't make any promises, but at the very least, talk about it, talk about what I think of it. So we'll see. We'll see what the headset's like. Deanna Thompson, you're saying, please read funny. It's not Mr. It's MR Ducks. MR, not S. What? I don't know what you're saying here. Deanna, I don't know what you're saying. I'm confused. I appreciate the super chat, but I am very confused as to what's going on there. Sir Speaks a Lot, you're saying Bug Snacks won't be fun without MBG feet pics in 4K. Dude, I don't know, man. I don't know why you keep hanging on to that. It's not going to happen, man. Like, I mean, the day will come probably where I go on camera. I've been contemplating whether or not I want to go on camera to do an unboxing for the PS5. I can't promise anything yet. It's just one of those things where I'll probably decide in the moment. But when it comes to that, you holding on to that, man, it's not going to happen. Velcro Apple, you're asking, when I stream, am I going to use a face cam? I'm not sure. I mean, I bought the HD camera because I'm assuming that that's going to be necessary in the future for the next iteration of PlayStation VR. But when it comes to having a face cam, that's also up in the air. Maybe, maybe not. I don't really know. Nintendo Power, you're saying MH751, most comfy headset with the best mic for $100. Yeah, there's a lot of headsets out there, man, and it's one of those areas where if you do your research, you can find some really high quality headsets at a lower price point than you were expecting. But Yeah, I appreciate all the super chats, guys. I really do appreciate them. One more time, if you guys could hit that like button, we're over 250 likes. We have almost 1,000 people watching, so we're gonna dive into the first topic. And I just once again want to thank you guys. So hit that like button. Let's see if we can get it up to 300 likes. So Sony revealed the PlayStation 5 UI or UX as they're calling it. I guess I want to call it the UX only because that's what Sony's calling it. Creeping Stage 514, you're saying feet pics will happen, for my will is your destiny. That's a little bit intense, buddy. I'm not gonna lie. It's a little bit intense. I don't think it's that serious. The Wonderful Gaming Co. You're saying I use the Arctis Pro Wireless Steel Series. Got it for 200. Is that pounds? I believe. I don't know if that's pounds or euros. I should know that. But on Prime Day, we'll have 3D audio. Highly recommend, especially if you're competitive. Yeah, I might consider in the future purchasing other headsets for the PS5 as well. I'm obviously just gonna stick um with the the one that Sony's making at first. To be honest, I love the fact that you can use the mic through the controller. I know that a lot of people are not going to be doing that, and there's a lot of people who actually don't like that, but for me personally, that's actually, I know it sounds crazy, but I'm really looking forward to that because I don't know, man, sometimes wearing a headset, it doesn't matter how comfortable the headset is, how lightweight it is, it just irritates me over time, and I don't know, just the idea that I'm hoping that when I use the microphone through the DualSense, my biggest concern is that there's going to be a lot of, feedback. And I'm assuming, and I think I read about this in the past, that Sony is implementing technology in it that should basically isolate your voice, and what's coming through that microphone should only be your voice and very minimal background noise. Like the only time background noise is going to bleed through is if you're doing something really, really loud. So, I mean, maybe I think the big question is if you're using a sound bar, if you have a surround sound system and you want to turn it up and you want to use the microphone built into the DualSense, is that going to come through? Hopefully not. Plasmic H, you're saying, did you see Sackboy's ray traced points bubbles? I don't, I think so. I mean, I put out a tweet where I was showing a comparison between the PS5 version of Sackboy and the PS4 version, and it was incredibly impressive. And you could definitely see the ray tracing, but the detail difference was kind of staggering. So, yeah. Nintendo Power, you're saying, hope DualSense can drive my HD 58X. New NES Braga, you're saying Target estimates delivery for the headset on the 6th. Okay. So that's the thing, is I don't know if every retailer is going to be doing this or not. It would be kind of strange to me to think that, Target would be able to, and that, Sony's going to be doing it. I would assume that all other retailers will be allowed to. I could be wrong about that. We don't know, but yeah. We also have Floris Sanderman. You're saying, do you like Sony's Craig tease in the UI reveal? Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. I don't know if they did that purposely. We can only assume that they did. But yeah, I don't know, man. I saw people kind of Photoshop that and put the picture of Craig's face, and I put that up on Twitter, and I think some people thought that Sony actually did that. Like, some people actually thought that Sony put a picture of Craig's face in the UI reveal or the UX reveal, and I'm like, guys, no, like that's photoshopped. But the name Craig Wilson was actually legitimate. So yeah, that was pretty funny. That was pretty funny. We'll never know. That's the thing, is we'll never know. Like, was that Sony teasing something out, or taking some low key shots, or did it just happen to be that the name they had on there was Craig Wilson? The Mark Shark is saying, MBG, you replaying God of War at locked 60 on the PS5. Maybe, I don't know. Has that been confirmed? I know that it's been confirmed that Ghost of Tsushima will be at 60 frames per second through boost mode, but I haven't heard anything about God of War. That'd be great. That'd be really cool. Simon, you're saying, can you play with a 1080p monitor on the PS5? Yeah, I'm sure you can. I mean, of course you can. You'll be able to use the PlayStation 5 on a 1080p display. Obviously, you're not gonna have the 4K experience, but yeah, there should be no problem there. But getting back to the UI, because I'm gonna be interested to see what you guys have to say. You're saying God of War has an unlocked frame rate. Okay, in that case, yeah, I could see it being boosted up to 60. So that's awesome. I might go back and play it. I don't know. There's going to be so much to play when the PS5 launches and throughout the first year of the PS5. It's going to be hard to keep up. Honestly, it's been hard to keep up, to be completely honest. So but yeah, Sony revealed the UI, or the UX as they are calling it, for the first time, and I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the response to it has been, in my opinion, overwhelmingly positive. I mean, I looked at the video and I think it's already over 10 million views, which is crazy to me because it's like I knew that people were interested in seeing the UI, but man, like 10 million views in just like what, 2 days or 3 days? That's very impressive, and it really does go to show like how important the user experience is and the UI experience is to a lot of people. And I talked about this recently where I know the whole idea of, yeah, obviously I focused on resolutions, and again, that's just where you get so deep into something where it's like, is this really what we're talking about now? And you realize, you know what, maybe that's a pretty dumb thing to talk about. But what I don't think is dumb is there are people who, like, I can understand if you're somebody who really doesn't care about the UI. I totally understand that. Like, I know people who just don't care about the UI. Like, that doesn't matter to them. They just care about the games. And I totally get that. But I don't think there's anything wrong either with caring about the UI, right? Like, I think that that's totally justifiable, where if you are going to buy a PS5 or an Xbox Series X, you do want to, I think I'm assuming most people would want to know, well, what's the UI going to be like? Because you are going to interact with that UI for many years to come. No, you don't play the UI. And of course, you're not going to be dumping like 50 or 60 hours into just staring. Well, I mean, technically over time you could, but I understand both sides of the argument. I guess I'm just saying that I am somebody, I do care to an extent. It's not the be all end all, but I certainly do care about the UI experience and what it's going to be like. And I was overall just really excited to see what Sony was going to be doing, because when they said earlier this year that it's going to be completely revamped, it's going to be a completely different experience, I was genuinely excited to see, okay, what's it going to be like? Because they could have come out and said it's going to be similar to the PS4's, but we're going to, have some big improvements. And I'd be like, okay, that's still exciting, obviously, but we know it's going to be generally the same thing, just with some improvements. So I think that's why people are really, tuning in to this reveal of the UX, because they're interested to see, they're interested to see what the difference is going to be and how much better it's going to be. And I see some people are just arriving to the podcast. And for those who are just joining, what is going on? Thank you guys for being here. Again, hit that like button. Let's see if we can get it to 350 likes, maybe even 400 likes. The only reason I ask for likes like that is because it's really important with YouTube's algorithm, and obviously growing the podcast and getting it out there to a wider audience is something I care about, and I'm assuming you guys would like that as well. So just hit that like button if you could. Mr. Hamster, you're saying, what is your favorite type of coffee, MBG? Good question. I mean, I like all types of coffee. I always go with some type of cream and sugar or creamer. I'm not a fan of black coffee. I've tried. I don't know. It just doesn't sit well with me. But coffee, I'm usually a fan of just regular roast. You know what I mean? Just like the regular. I drink Maxwell House because I'm an old man and I drink Maxwell House coffee. So there you go, Mr. Hamster. That's my favorite type of coffee. Not the most exciting, but yeah, getting back to the UI, it's just crazy to me that there are a lot of people seemingly who just don't care. And I guess that just surprises me. You know what I mean? Like I can understand it, but it's still surprising to me because it's like it's such an integral part of the overall experience that you're going to be, interacting with over the years. I do think, and this is something that I didn't talk about, but I do think it's actually pretty relevant, is something I didn't mention is I think there is actually a big difference between people's interest in the UI when it comes to Sony versus Microsoft, mainly because you're looking at a situation where on one side, Sony hasn't changed or altered the PS4's UI at all throughout the years. I mean, they've made some refinements and improvements, but no dramatic change. To whereas with Microsoft, they've shown before that they will completely overhaul the entire UI. And I think that's maybe why people don't care too much about what you're seeing with the Series X UI, because Microsoft has proven that they will change it in the middle of the generation, to where Sony has not done that. So I think that's a really important thing is to pay attention to and to realize that that's why a lot of people, that's why a lot of people I think care more about paying attention to what Sony's UI experience is going to be like, because it seems like it's likely it's not going to change. Brute Forced, nice name. You're saying, hey MBG, did you see Griffin Gaming's roast of you? I've seen a lot of people throwing it my way. It's a 33-minute video. I didn't watch it. It is what it is. He's gonna do his thing, and I can admit, I gave him a very easy video to kind of dunk on, and when I made that video, I was like, I don't know, man. Maybe I'm being too ranty. I just don't sound level-headed. I sound kind of ridiculous, and so it's like, you know what? I'm not a fan of the idea of taking other people's content and just ripping it apart. But, people are going to do what they're going to do. And that's not something I would do. I like to think that I would try to do something a little bit, just a little bit more, something that's just a little bit more on the side of, something I care about. Because, again, I understand it's something that people are going to do. And it sucks. It sucks. It's like, would I have preferred that to not happen? Of course, but it is what it is. I can only focus on what I'm doing here and double down on that. And if people, look, I'm human. I'm human. I make a lot of content and I make mistakes and I say dumb things and I say ridiculous things. I don't purposely try to, but I'm human and I have no problem admitting that. And if people want to take that and they just want to completely destroy me for it, then hey, they're free to do that. But I like to think that the majority of people who are here for the content I produce, it's because they understand that, I'm trying to do the best I can. And I'm trying to obviously serve my audience because I care about you guys. You guys make the channel what it is, while also trying to grow as a person and grow as a content creator. And it's not always going to be perfect. And I'm totally okay with that. So that's pretty much all I have to say about it. I know people are like, oh, you need to fire back. It's like, fire back at what? Like, the dude just have you seen his channel? Like, that's what he does. That's his shtick, that's what he's known for. And he's going to keep doing that. And so, the video he chose to do, it's like, okay, I admit, like, I served that one up for somebody to spike. And so there you go. Darren, you're saying, hi, MBG. I have a friend who's been Xbox loyal since the 360, but fed up of no games and pre-ordered PS5. Did you get back into the gym lately? Thanks. Well, that's interesting. It will be interesting to see how many people who shift from the Xbox One to the PS5. I feel like it's going to be definitely less than the people who shifted from the 360 to the PS4, but it's still happening. And there's people shifting from PlayStation to Xbox as well. When it comes to getting back to the gym, I haven't gotten back to the gym, no, but what I have done is I've completely cleared out my basement, completely cleaned it up, and I'm hoping to have it redone soon, but I'm investing in, workout equipment and stuff like that, because making a home gym is something that I've, been trying to do for many years, just to no avail. But yeah, that's a project I've been working on recently, and it's something that I'm hoping I can get done, because I am definitely like that. I know it sounds ridiculous, but surely you guys understand. I chose many years ago to name my channel Muscle Bound Gamer, and I know to some people that's cringy, but I told you guys I named it Muscle Bound Gamer because I'm really into lifting weights and fitness, and gaming. And when I made this channel, I was thinking about doing both, but obviously I dedicated to this channel to just gaming. And so it is a little bit nerve wracking to think, like, if I go on camera for the first time, what are people expecting? Are they expecting some like roided out, just like massive dude? Because that's not what I am. I'm also not a twig. Like, I'm not skinny either. I'm more on the lean side for sure, but I have certainly not been doing what I should be these past couple of months because of the whole quarantine thing and whatnot. And I'm sure you guys relate to that big time. And it's tough because it's like you have to, you have to continue to take care of yourself. And so it'll be interesting. I don't know. Maybe I'll just take a bunch of creatine a couple weeks before I ever decide to go on camera. That should do the trick, right? But anyway, I appreciate the super chats, guys. But yeah, I wanted to, before I end this specific topic, I wanted to, focus on the fact that when it comes to the PlayStation 5 UX, I will admit, okay, so something I got dunked on for recently, and I will totally admit, like, wow, I should have known better, I was talking about, Sony showing off some, in my opinion, what I thought were innovative features. And one of the things that I pointed out that I really liked and I thought was cool was the picture-in-picture mode. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, I completely forgot that that was actually something Microsoft did with the Xbox One originally, but they, for some reason, I looked into it and they like removed it for some reason. It was like a feature that they actively removed from the Xbox One. It was the what did they call it? I think they called it the snap feature. And I totally forgot that that was a thing. Now, I don't necessarily know, I'm assuming you could maybe watch people stream doing that. But I remember when I first got the Xbox One, that was something that I was excited about, but I never really used it that much at the time. I used it sometimes, but they got rid of the feature so quickly or so soon that I totally forgot that they had something like that. But I don't know if it's necessarily the same thing, because I believe with the snap mode you could have it like on the right or left side of the screen, I believe. But with the picture-in-picture, it only takes up like literally just a small section of the screen. Whereas I think with snap mode, it basically kind of took up almost like 1/6 of your screen, roughly, or something like that, or 1/5. So, but still, I mean, I guess we can't call it the most innovative feature, but it's a feature that I'm still excited about. I'll be interested to see, how I can implement that and some creative ways I can kind of, find a way to implement that feature. But I do think a lot of the other things that Sony is trying to do with the UI, to me, it does come off as innovation, mainly because, if you were just talking about PlayStation, I do think it comes off as somewhat innovative because they're taking a completely different approach with the PS5 UI than with the PS4. So it doesn't come off to me as like a refinement or, something that's just trying to, do the bare minimum. It really seems like they are genuinely trying to do some interesting things that can have a profound impact on your overall PlayStation 5 experience. And I do appreciate that, and I'm excited for it. And, there's a decent chance that some of these things they're doing may not be as game changing as I'm imagining or as innovative as I'm imagining. But overall, what I saw, I was impressed with. I really was. I thought that the UI experience looked really good. It looked fast. It looked snappy. It looked different. And, I wrote down some of the new features here. So the control center is the one that I think has a ton of potential for sure, because, this is either going to be one of those things that just takes a back seat where it's like you never use it, or it could potentially be one of these things that you could actually use it all the time. So the control center, there's a whole navigation bar that comes up and it's at the bottom, and the activities, that's actually what I was trying to get to when it comes to like which aspect of this UI has the potential to really grow into something significant. I think the activity center really has the potential to do some really interesting things when it comes to just creating the most seamless experience when it comes to, I just want to dive into this content. I just want to get into this content. And you just literally want to do it like that. And you don't have to really, go through a bunch of different hoops or screens to get there. So that is pretty interesting. And I think it has a ton of potential. And I've seen people do a bunch of mock-ups online as well and showing like how it could be used. And, it just goes to show you, like, when you look at these mock-ups that people are coming up with, it has the potential to be a really, really solid, feature that can really differentiate the PlayStation 5 experience from the PlayStation 4 experience. Josh Z, you're saying Final Fantasy Remake is your game of the year. Redefined what a remake can be, and they put so much care and thought into it on a presentation, technical, fan, meta level, and it is only the first part on a freaking PS4. Just amazing. Yeah, Josh Z, Josh, I'll just call you. First of all, thank you for the super chat, buddy. I gotta tell you, I think Final Fantasy VII may have. I mean, I don't know. It on PS4. I'm gonna say Final Fantasy VII. I think set the bar, like you said, for what a remake can be. I personally haven't played it yet, but I have. Dude, I watched. Do you guys know who Tim Rogers is? He has his own thing now he's doing called Action Button, and he only does, I think, one like super, super highly produced video a month on games. And one of the games he did was Final Fantasy VII, and it was like 3.5 hours long. And I watched that entire thing and I loved it. And to be honest, at that point, I felt like, man, maybe I don't even need to play this game because 3.5 hour long video. But after watching that, man, yeah, it's very clear that it set the benchmark for what a remake can be. But the reason why I said PS4 is because we have Demon Souls remake coming out for the PS5. And so, it will be interesting to see if Demon Souls ends up setting that bar as well. But Final Fantasy VII, it's a game that I was considering playing because I've never been into Final Fantasy. And it's just not there yet for me. It's not. I have nothing against it, obviously. It's just a series that has never really appealed to me. Maybe that will change, though. Maybe one day we can do like when part 2 is out. I don't know how many parts there's going to be in total, but maybe we could do like a playthrough of all of them. It's hard to say, though, because there's so many games. But thank you for that super chat, Josh. I really appreciate that. But some of the other features that were revealed, obviously, was the game help. And this literally allows you to get hints via text or actual video right through the PS5's control center. And a lot of people were really excited about this because it's just going to potentially, and again, this is something that has to be implemented at a developer level. So we really don't know right now how big of a deal this feature is going to be. It's going to live or die based off of developer support. And so to me, this has the potential to essentially replace, if it's done right and if it does get a lot of support, it's going to replace this need to have to pull out your phone and look up a walkthrough guide or anything like that. Obviously, that's something that will still exist and that will always have its role if you want like a completely dedicated in-depth. But, I do like that, because if you are like a trophy hunter and you're trying to get all the trophies and you're trying to get all of the collectibles, you can just bring the idea that you're stuck on this one area and you can just bring up a hint, whether it be text or even video, which could be incredibly helpful, just like we saw with the demonstration. That's pretty awesome to me. And again, this is just one of those features where I feel like that is something different. It's something different that I haven't really seen before implemented into a console's UI. And it really, look, people can call it cliche. People can say I'm fanboying, but to be honest, it really does come off to me as something that is trying to like really get across that this is the next generation. Like, it may not have to be the most exciting thing in the world. Like, okay, I can watch some tips videos, but if it's done right, again, it's going to do a really good job in differentiating the PlayStation 4 experience from the PlayStation 5 experience, just like the PlayStation 4 experience is completely different in many ways from the PlayStation 3 experience. So I really like what they're doing with that. And we also have the fact that the overall UI itself is looking to be incredibly fast. That's obviously a theme with the PlayStation 5 in general, is just speed in general. So that's kind of a given, but I think many people are appreciative of just how fast it's actually going to be, especially when you look at, going from one game to another. I've seen a lot of people, bringing up the question, will the PlayStation 5 offer a suspend feature? Will you be able to kind of jump from one game to another, similar to what we saw? I forget what the feature's called. Quick resume, I think, is what Microsoft is calling it. And to me, it seems kind of like it's a given. Like, yeah, you will be able to do that. In fact, if you look at the control center when it was brought up, I believe there, or I don't know if it was the control center or just the UI in general, but there is, I forget what it's called, but there was this icon basically. I think it's called Switcher or something like that. They didn't go into what it is. And so a lot of people are speculating that that's actually going to be one of the features that they're going to show off a little bit later. And you'll be able to switch between multiple games. And it'll be basically Sony's own version of Quick Resume. So it will be interesting. I do anticipate it. We do know Quick Resume is also a thing because when the console was put into rest mode, which I do have to say that the screen that comes up when the console goes into rest mode looks really, really nice. But it did in fact show that, Quick Resume is a thing. So overall, to end this topic, I just want to ask you guys what you think of the PlayStation 5's UI or the user experience. Were you impressed with it? Do you like it? Are there aspects of it that are disappointing to you? Like, is it too much of a change from the PS4's UI? Let me know. I'm going to be interested. And also go check out that poll I put up if you haven't already, so you can vote. Billy Too Smooth, thank you for the super chat, my friend. You're saying, I wanted to tell you, maybe make a video. Retailers are canceling pre-orders because they are putting second holds on the money for PS5 without warning, and some didn't have money in the account, like Target. That is pretty interesting, Billy Too Smooth. I will have to look into that. I haven't myself come across anything like that, but if what you're saying is true, then that is certainly something that is concerning to a lot of people. So thanks for the heads up, man. I will have to look into that. And if I can find what you're talking about, I will try my best to, at some point, mention it in a video. So thank you for that. And thank you for the super chat, buddy. Really appreciate that. It looks like you guys are pretty excited for it. I see somebody congratulating me for hitting 80,000 subscribers. Well, thank you so much. I actually got a lot of people congratulating me for that. And so I actually want to give a big thank you to my audience and my subscribers, because obviously, you guys make the channel what it is. It's a 50-50 thing here. So you're saying $700 price point in India? Yeah, I don't know. That's definitely high. Yeah, I don't know what was going on with that whole thing. Apparently somebody had the PS5 trademarked or something, but $700 is a lot for sure. But I feel like it's kind of expected, So yeah, really quickly though, guys, before I move on to the next topic, I do want to look at my poll so I can just give you the results really quick when it comes to the UI. So I put out a poll. This was 3 days ago. I said, how do you like the PS5 UI so far overall? And I put out a reaction video, and I thanked you guys for helping us get to 80,000 subscribers. But there was a total of 19,000 votes. 93% said I like it, and only 7% said I don't like it. And got a lot of comments. I obviously can't go over them, but I will say it seems like overall a lot of people are really happy with the PlayStation 5's UI, and they do like it. So, we are a PlayStation-centric channel, obviously. So I don't think that's assumed that means automatically that poll, most people are going to like it, because I feel like if the PS5 UI was really something people didn't like, we would know about it. So anyway, we're going to move on to the next topic, guys. Be sure to hit that like button once again. We're already over 450 likes, which is awesome. Thank you guys so much for that. Let's see if we can get it up to 500 likes. We do have over 1,100 people watching, so hit that like button to help the podcast out. But in this topic, we're just going to talk about the next-gen consoles, the overall anticipation, but I do want to do a little bit of a comparison, basically looking at the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X and where these two consoles stand as of right now, based off of what we know. Like, how does it look right now going into launch for both of these consoles, but how does the overall next generation look with a more general overview. So I said here, I want to talk about how both consoles and platforms look right now going into next generation, since we are only a few weeks away from launch. Obviously, I'm heavily invested in PlayStation's ecosystem right now, and I'm very excited for everything they're doing. But even when trying to look at it from a completely unbiased viewpoint, like just no bias whatsoever, I think Sony really does have more going for it at launch and maybe even in 2021. But with that being said, the next generation will last a solid 5 to 8 years, and Xbox seems to be in the best position it's ever been in before. So I don't think there's any denying that Xbox is overflowing with potential right now. But the only real question is whether or not they're going to be able to fully realize that potential. So that's what the general discussion is going to be like here. Let me get to these super chats here. So Billy Too Smooth, once again, thank you, buddy. You say, hey, MBG, waiting on Demon Souls. I gave Neo 2 a try, and it's amazing. Have you played it? I've been playing for a couple of weeks. Going to play it on the PS5 too. I actually haven't. That was a title that I meant to get around to, and I just never did. It's been tough because obviously trying to grow the channel and dedicate so much time and effort into it, it does come at the cost of I have less time to game, and there's other things in life that do take priority. But hopefully, I have a massive backlog is what I'm trying to say. And Neo 2 is part of that, but I have heard nothing but good things about it. Maybe one day I'll get around to it. Can't make any promises, but I'm glad you are enjoying it. But I am super excited for Demon Souls, man. Like, that's a game I will for sure play day one. Manuel, you're saying here in Brazil, the PS5 and Xbox Series X are 885,000 US dollars. I'm assuming you meant to say 885,000. First week of pre-orders were great though. That is crazy to think. That is crazy to think that the prices are that high when converted. But hopefully you're able to get your next gen console, buddy. And thank you guys for those super chats. So again, when it comes to these next gen consoles, I don't think, again, I know that I'm considered biased because of my preference for PlayStation, but even when you try to look at it from an unbiased standpoint, honestly, like who is in the better position at launch and possibly even within the first year of these consoles being out? I think it's very obviously Sony, not only because they have a very solid launch lineup. I know that the lineup isn't for everybody, and it really differs, as to whether or not you're excited for Demon Souls, I think is a big, difference maker there. But even when you look at, okay, my bad. You meant $885, I believe, not 885,000. That was definitely too high. I don't know why. I don't know why I was thinking it was 885,000. But it's, hey man, with those conversion rates, you never know. But yeah, 885, definitely more expensive. Especially, but if you think about it, like, it just seems like these next gen consoles are expensive in general everywhere, right? Like, even, I mean, yeah, in the US you can get a digital PS5 for 400, but good luck trying to get your hands on that. And I think 500 US dollars, because that's what I paid, I think that's fair. So I mean, I don't know, if I had to pay like $800 or 700, yeah, it would be a lot tougher, but it would feel like an investment for sure. But yeah, I feel like you look at the PS5 launch lineup, but not just that. You look at the games that Sony has revealed thus far, and you can tell games like Returnal, Gran Turismo 7, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. They've even teased out the next God of War hitting 2021, Horizon Forbidden West. The first year of the PS5 is looking absolutely stacked. Like, it really is. And I think a big conversation that people are going to want to have at some point, and maybe we could have this conversation, whether on another podcast or a separate video, is we know that Horizon Forbidden West is going to be cross-gen. We obviously know that Spider-Man is. Will God of War be cross-gen? That will make for an interesting conversation. I can tell you right now, it wouldn't matter to me whether it is or not. I'm going to play it. That's for sure. But I digress here. I feel that Sony has really kind of proven that you don't have to wait for the games. And I think that, to be honest, I think that that right there is the biggest difference between the position that Sony is in going into next generation versus the position that Microsoft is in going into next generation. I feel as though Microsoft, as I said, has the most potential that they've ever had. They have more studios than Sony at this point, right? The quality of those studios, that's a conversation for another time, but that's just it right there. Is there's a lot that they still have left to prove in the gaming space. And so I totally understand that there are a lot of people who are okay with that. There are a lot of people who are excited for the Series X, and they're totally fine with playing mostly, third party or timed exclusive games until Microsoft is ready to really bring out the big guns, or what hopefully will be the big guns. And when you look at the amount of studios that Microsoft does have, there's no denying that they're going to have, like, once they really get into a flow, they're going to have a lot of content. Like, there's no arguing that. The quantity is going to be there. We actually already saw that this year, but this is where, you have the whole quantity versus quality argument, and it's like, well, what would you prefer from Microsoft? Would you prefer 2 or 3 like bigger AAA games a year that are really high quality, really refined, really massive in scope and scale? Or would you prefer to maybe have one of those a year, maybe two? I think two is maybe pushing, maybe one of those a year, but a bunch of other like smaller games. And we don't know what their plan is exactly. Like, I've said before that it seems like Sony is trying to go for the quality and quantity balance, which is a really difficult balance to strike and maintain. And it seems like that's really what they're striving for with the first year of the PS5. And I assume they're going to want to continue that going further into next generation. It seems like Microsoft may attempt to do that as well. But again, I feel as though a lot of the studios they have still have a lot to prove. Not looking at Bethesda studios, but looking at a lot of the Microsoft studios like Playground Games making Fable. Fable has the potential to be a massive success, a huge hit for Microsoft. But the question is, like, will it be? We don't know. It's going to take time to find out. Like, I think Playground Games, they're a great studio. I love what they do with the Forza Horizon series, but I have no idea what to expect from them from a fantasy RPG series. I just don't know. I'm hoping it'll be great. The same can be said for Undead Labs, State of Decay 3, right? Like, they have a ton of potential with that IP, and I know that the studio itself has a ton of potential, but will they realize that potential? And even when you look at Bethesda games, the problem with Bethesda is, yeah, there's no denying that that's a huge acquisition, and they have some of the biggest IPs in the industry. There's no denying that. But the question is, can Bethesda return to that form that made people love them as a publisher? It's not to say that all of their games are bad, because that's not true. Like the most recent Doom, huge hit, huge success. People love it. But we can't deny that they've fallen off in recent years with some of their bigger titles. Like, look at Fallout 76, right? Look at how long people in general are waiting for the next Elder Scrolls. And there's just been, they haven't been hitting that stride that they've been able to hit in the past. And there are a lot of people, whether you want to accept it or not, that look at Bethesda as a shell of their former self. And that's what's interesting to me, is you look at the amount of studios that Microsoft now has. Again, they have more potential than they ever have before. It's just a matter of, will they realize that potential? Will the majority of their games going into next generation be great games? Or will they just be okay games, or in some cases even not so great games, right? Like, what is Starfield going to be like? Is this going to be the next big hit from Bethesda? Or is it going to be a massive flop like Fallout 76? You would assume it's not going to be anything like Fallout 76, right? What about the next Fallout? Is it going to be another Fallout 76 situation, or is it going to be a return to form? I think that, again, like, these are questions that we don't have the answers to. However, it's totally understandable that a lot of people want to give Microsoft the benefit of the doubt. You want to assume that if you're going to make an acquisition as big as Bethesda, It's not going to be to produce mediocre games or games that just disappoint. It's to produce bigger games, right? So this is the inherent difference I believe we see currently right now with the next gen consoles. And I think the anticipation is through the roof right now for both. And I feel like if I were somebody who was going to be getting both consoles day one, which I'm not pursuing an Xbox Series X as of right now. I may in the future. But the question is, or I guess not the question, but the outlook I would have if I was trying to acquire both consoles at launch. The outlook I would have is I know with the PS5, like I feel extremely confident with the PlayStation 5 that I'm going to get great games. Like Sony has delivered a lot of great games throughout the PS4 generation. They've revealed a lot of seemingly what will be great games for the PS5 in its first year. And I'm confident that going into the next 5 to 8 years of the generation, they're going to continue to try to deliver on those great games. And my outlook with the Xbox would be, well, I'm going to have this really great console and I can enjoy maybe some great looking third party multi-plat games. And maybe there will be some smaller games here and there. But the big hope is over the next 2 years, 3 years, like I really hope we get some amazing titles because even like to be completely honest, guys, like even looking at 2021 for the Xbox Series X, I'm not really sure what there is. I know Halo Infinite is supposed to release, but again, Halo Infinite is just a microcosm of what we're trying to get at here with the bigger picture thinking. It's a smaller representation of the bigger problem, which is the potential is there. The potential for Halo Infinite to be the best Halo ever made is there. Will they deliver on that? And we know that they had to delay the game. And the big hope is that, because you're delaying that game, because you're giving it more time, please deliver on that. So I see True Witty, you're saying I missed your super chat. Let me you said, have you tried Ghost of Tsushima Legends? It's fun. Sorry I missed that, buddy. I don't know how I missed that, but I talked about that just a little bit earlier, and I have not played it yet. I do plan on playing it. I just want to make sure when I'm able to, I can really dive into it and enjoy it. I think I've been playing the Call of Duty beta right now because it's going to be ending soon, and I feel like my approach is I'm basically just going to dive into Ghost of Tsushima Legends after the beta ends. And I'm really looking forward to it because I've heard really good things about it. Tyrone Futter, you're saying, I think in each of the countries we live in, we have different experiences of what consoles cost. Also take into account inflation, exchange rates, tax, etc. Yeah, that's true. That's true. It is just a different experience. I think you hit the nail on the head by putting it that way. It is a different experience. But overall, guys, with this second topic, I'm just trying to say that there are, in my opinion, some big differences between the two consoles going into the next generation launch. And you have to buy what you want. Obviously, you have to. And, I think the reason why we have these conversations in such a way is because, you could always say, hey, it wouldn't be the Press X podcast if True Witty didn't tell MVG he missed his super chat. Yeah, I always seem to miss them. You know why? I'll tell you why really quick. The reason why it's so easy to miss those super chats is because for some reason, if you donate less than $5 or $5 equivalent in super chat, it doesn't put it at the top. It just lets it scroll up. And so I have to be on top of those or go back to them later because I missed them. And I don't know why YouTube does that. It would just be easier if they could just put every super chat at the top. But I just figured I'd let you guys know that. But yeah, I just feel that there is a big difference between these two consoles, and I totally understand for the people who are able to. They're like, just buy both. Just buy both. Why not just buy both? Well, because there are a lot of people who are not going to be able to buy both. Maybe not even throughout the entire generation. Not until maybe the end of the generation. And so for them, they feel like they do have to choose and they just want to make sure they make the right choice. And I do think that that's something that will always be prevalent when it comes to new consoles launching, and especially consoles that are similar in many ways. And so I think that Sony has given given gamers and players a much better, um, a much more confident look, I guess you could say, at what's to come in the first year. And they're not worried about like telling you what's going to be coming 2 years or 3 years or potentially 4 years from now. Instead, they're worried about showing you what you're going to get, the tangible result you're going to see by choosing to invest into a PS5 within the first 12 months. But what's interesting about that is right there, you see the inherent difference between Sony and Microsoft's approach, where for Sony, it's about, getting you in as quickly as possible because they do care about moving units as quickly as possible. Microsoft wants to sell Xbox consoles. They do, obviously, but they don't prioritize that. Like, that's not their number one concern. To them, that's just another option to them. So that's why Microsoft is seemingly okay with, you know, buy it when you want. If you don't want to buy an Xbox for the first year, that's okay. Buy it the second year. If you want to wait until Fable's out to buy an Xbox, that's okay. We're going to give them the time they need, as they should, but no big deal. To where Sony, they're like, okay, we need to have a stacked first year, and we need to continue keeping it stacked every year after that to continue to push units, because they care about selling units. So I don't know. At the end of the day, though, we do have to just buy what we want. You know what I mean? What appeals to you the most? Tyrone Futter, once again, thank you for the super chat, buddy. You're saying, I find it funny how Xbox fanboys were saying the PS5 SSD is no big deal, yet literally the number one thing previews of the Xbox Series X are praising is quick resume. Yeah, I mean, look, I think that the whole conversation or discourse surrounding, does the PS5's SSD really mean that much? Is it really that big of a deal? Is it a literal game changer? I think it's because, there are people who have maybe and maybe I'm guilty of this, but I only make the content based off of my general understanding, and I usually let you know if I'm not 100% sure. But the idea is, we've heard from individuals that the PS5's SSD is the big game changer when when it works in tandem with the rest of the architecture and the hardware. And I think there's a disconnect there because it's like, yeah, the SSD traditionally isn't really known to be that much of a game changer because it's really just known to load things really quickly. And that's not changing. But the game changing aspect is how the SSD is going to work in tandem with the rest of the PlayStation 5's architecture, the IO throughput, and how that's going to potentially change some or maybe even all aspects of game design from the floor up. And that's why I think a lot of, Xbox fans immediately not retract, but just push against the idea that the SSD is not going to change anything. It's just going to result in faster loading because traditionally that's what it's been known to do. And for most third-party games and multi-plat games, that's what it's going to do. You're not going to see that game-changing effect from in such a massive way anyway, at first with third-party games, if ever. But that's where Sony's first party has that advantage, where they can try to really rethink game development from the floor up if they want. Gameplay design, that's what's interesting to me. Oyakarumi, Xbox and PlayStation reminds me of Goku and Vegeta, where Xbox is Vegeta and PlayStation is Goku, where Xbox says they don't see PlayStation as competition, but we all know what's going on. Yeah, no, I can totally see that. I get that vibe from, Microsoft and Xbox as well. It's where it's like, they don't look. I think Microsoft has no choice but to always see PlayStation as competition as long as PlayStation continues to produce great games. There's no doubt about that, and they have their own platform. As long as Sony has a platform that could potentially take away future subscribers or, players from their platform, then they are inherently competition. I just think Microsoft is trying to come off as like, we're too big for Sony sometimes. And to be honest, with the recent Bethesda acquisition, that was the biggest, in a way, you're not competition because we can buy Bethesda and you can't. Or we could buy another big publisher if they want to sell and you can't. I mean, Sony maybe could, but I've talked about this in the past. It's incredibly risky for Sony to do something like that. But yeah, And we have Primal Plasma. Meanwhile, Nintendo is sitting pretty, eating popcorn and watching the whole Xbox PlayStation drama play out. Yeah, that is true, man. Nintendo marches to the beat of their own drum. And you could argue that we're starting to see that happen more and more about, we're seeing that more and more with PlayStation and Xbox kind of diverting and taking divergent paths. But yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for this second topic. I want to move on to the third topic, which is equally, if not maybe even more interesting. So we did surpass the 500 like mark. So thank you guys so much for getting the podcast up to 500 likes. Thank you for the super chats and all of the support. If you could, make sure you hit that like button again. Let's see if we can get it to 550 likes, maybe even 600 likes. That would help it out tremendously. But I do want to move on to the next topic, where Phil Spencer recently talked about the Bethesda acquisition, and he was asked if Xbox would need to release The Elder Scrolls 6 on PlayStation in order to recoup that $7.5 billion they spent. Phil's comments were, in my opinion, a little bit confusing. Apparently, a lot of people were not confused about them. Because he said that they wouldn't need to release any of Bethesda's games on a platform outside of their own to make the deal work. But he also said that they did not make the acquisition with the intention of taking games away from players. Obviously, his comments have made some run in one direction and others run in the opposite direction. So I definitely wanted to talk a little bit more about this because I made a video on this yesterday, and, it seemed like people were not really interested in the video. I'm assuming because maybe people are just not really interested in Phil Spencer's comments at this point, because it seems clear that anytime he's asked a question like this, we can expect to get basically the same general answers. And so we're left to kind of continue to read between the lines. But what's interesting is a lot of people responded to Phil Spencer's comments and basically said, oh, so they're going to be exclusive to the Xbox platform. Like, that's what the majority of people seemingly got from his comments here, because a lot of people were saying that he's not going to outright come out here and say, oh yeah, we're going to make them exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem. They're not releasing on PlayStation. He's not going to do that. That's just not the way they talk about things. He's going to be more diplomatic about it, I think is the word that some people were using. Brandon, you're saying, MBG, come on, you have to realize by now that Phil Spencer is the biggest hypocrite in the gaming industry that does nothing but talk out of his what. And I mean, I'm going to be real right now, Brandon. I feel like that can be applied to pretty much all of the executives at the top level, because you could say that about Jim Ryan at this point, considering some of the things he said and just went back on in the past. But I will admit, Phil Spencer does have more of a tendency, maybe just because he talks more than a lot of other executives, to kind of put his foot in his mouth. I understand what that's like. I think we all do. But, look, I've taken this stance where I do believe that all future Bethesda titles will be exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem. I do not think you're going to see Starfield or the Elder Scrolls 6 or the next Doom or the next Wolfenstein or the next Fallout on a PlayStation console. I do not anticipate that. I think Phil made it pretty clear when he said that we do not have to go and ship these games on another platform. I'm telling you, I know that there are PlayStation fans who make it sound like this isn't a big deal. And to be completely honest with you, I don't personally feel like it is, only because I told you guys, I'm not a big fan of Bethesda games. I never really have been. There's people who say, well, now you say that because they might not come to PlayStation. No, I assure you, I was legitimately never a big fan of Bethesda's games. I don't have anything against them. It's kind of like the Final Fantasy VII situation, where most of them just never appealed to me in the way that you think they would. So, I think the situation overall is Microsoft's intention with this acquisition was to become much more competitive with PlayStation and their games. I think that that's what the intention was, and I mean, it was for Game Pass as well. But think of it this way. Think of it this way. I think that Microsoft, their number one goal with this Bethesda acquisition was, we want to inflate Game Pass. We want to make Game Pass incredibly more appealing very quickly, just like that. So the fact that all of Bethesda's titles will be releasing day and date on top of Microsoft's studios and their titles day and date on Game Pass, the fact that Starfield and the Elder Scrolls 6 will be on Game Pass day one, that right there is enough. That's enough for them. But it could be seen as, well, maybe we can get a double win here, because if we choose to just lock these games on our ecosystem and we don't release them on, another platform such as PlayStation, then we are also finding a way to compete more so with PlayStation. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? Where it's like, it can be seen as a win-win situation, where if what Phil Spencer's saying is true, where they really don't need, like, it, from a business standpoint, they really don't need to put their games on any other platform to recoup that cost. Then if that's true, all they have to do at that point is just put them on Game Pass, keep them in the Xbox ecosystem, and they just found a way to basically ensure that a lot of people will either not buy a PlayStation 5 and buy an Xbox, or play on PC, or they're just gonna make sure that you're going to engage with their ecosystem one way or another. Like, this was a strong arm move. I know that it's easy to assume it wasn't, because Phil Spencer always tries to make it seem like Xbox, they're the nice guys. They're trying to be everywhere, and they want to share. And I get that. Like, you have to understand, Microsoft only takes that approach because it benefits them given their position. But you have to be able to see through that, and you have to understand that, look, this was a power play by Microsoft. They knew what they were doing. They know why they did this. They did this because they want to get you into their ecosystem. And here's the reality. Them owning all of Bethesda's IP right now, them putting future releases such as the Elder Scrolls 6 onto PlayStation does not bring you into their ecosystem. It makes them money, but that money's temporary. They're looking for recurrent revenue, and they know they're not going to get that through game sales, because game sales will eventually slow down and they will stop. Now, you could argue, but if they keep releasing their games, then it's like they're getting continued revenue. But you have to understand that for Microsoft, it's not about game sales. And when you realize that, and this is the realization that I came to that made me totally understand, yeah, okay, they're not putting their games on PlayStation anymore. Once you understand that game sales mean nothing to Microsoft anymore, they mean nothing to them, you have your answer right there. They do not care about how many sales they could potentially get on the Elder Scrolls 6 on PlayStation 5. They just don't. What they care about is making you want to join their ecosystem, whether that's on PC, whether that's on console, whether that's buying the game on PC, whether that's buying it on Xbox, or whether that's subscribing to Game Pass. That's what they want. Or whether that's subscribing to Game Pass and playing it through xCloud. That's what they want. They do not care about game sales. And once I came to this realization, it became, you're saying MVG is so wrong about this. The argument makes zero sense. I don't think it makes zero sense, dude. Like, if you look at the direction Microsoft has been going in, like, let me ask you this. If Microsoft cared about game sales, why would they put their games onto Game Pass day and date? If somebody can answer that question with something that makes sense, then maybe I'll admit I am off the mark on this one. But as long as Game Pass exists, and as long as Microsoft puts their games onto Game Pass day one, then I think that gives you your answer. Like, it answers the question. Does Microsoft care about game sales? No, they don't. They like when they can get them, but that's not their goal. 3W Cooks, you're saying missed out on the current gen consoles. Will wireless headphones like the Sony XM4 pair with the PS5 or just gaming headsets like the Pulse 3D? I don't know 100%. I'm going to say probably not. You might want to look in that, like, if it wasn't for the PS4, if it wasn't made for the PS4, which I don't know the XM4, I don't know what that headset is. If it wasn't made for the PS4, it probably won't, to be honest with you. But so why do they still make dedicated hardware if they only care about Game Pass? Because you have to understand the hardware is just another avenue to offer to get you into Game Pass. That's the point of the hardware. Like, they don't care if they sell, 80 million units or 30 million units. All they care about is the potential that if they sell 30 million Xbox hardware units, that's potentially 30 million more Game Pass subscribers. Because if you're willing to invest in a console, there's a difference between the individual who's willing to pay a large sum of money to invest into a console than the individual who's willing to just pay $10 a month to play an Xbox exclusive through xCloud on their phone. You understand? So, to them, offering the hardware is basically just an avenue to allow more dedicated customers to access the ecosystem. That's all it really is. They know that the people who buy the consoles are the most likely to buy the games, but they're also just as likely to subscribe to Game Pass. So it's an option for them. It doesn't make sense for them to not make hardware, is all I'm trying to say. Because as long as they're not selling it at a massive loss to where it could be detrimental, then there's no reason for them not to. That's why I was confused with Google Stadia. I was confused with them because I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I get you want to do the whole streaming thing and streaming alone, but would it really have been like, I feel like it would have been actually maybe more beneficial for Stadia to make dedicated hardware. Like, I really do. I mean, I know that that's not where the money's made, but still, like, I don't know, man. Let me put it to you this way. There's a reason why Microsoft hasn't abandoned the console space yet. And thank you for that, Shinkei, if I'm saying your name correctly. Thank you for that super chat. But there's a reason why Microsoft hasn't abandoned the console hardware space yet, and there's a reason why, even though their only main pursuit is subscriptions and services, it's the same thing with Sony. Why do you guys think Sony cares so much about hardware sales? Do you think it's because they're making bank on that hardware? No, they're not. They're losing money on that, most likely on that hardware. It's because Sony proves, look, Sony has proven something. And what they have proven is that there is this connection between expensive hardware and investment in services and subscriptions. The chances, like, if you can sell 100 million units of hardware, okay, if you can sell 100 million units of hardware, then the chances of you being able to hit, say, 20 million subscribers on your service skyrockets compared to just putting that service out on a device that anybody can access. I know that sounds like it's not true, but I'm telling you it is, because the thing is, people who invest in this hardware, they are the ones who are going to subscribe. They're I guess I'm just trying to say, you look at Game Pass, okay? Let me put it to you this way. You know what numbers I would love to see released by Microsoft? And I don't think they would ever release these numbers because they're more stingy than ever before when it comes to numbers. I would love to see the difference in the source, basically, of Game Pass subscribers, like what a pie chart of that would look like. Like, what I'm saying is, if we were to look at a pie chart of overall Game Pass subscribers, can somebody tell me how many millions of subscribers does Microsoft have now on Game Pass? I know they revealed the number recently, but I forgot what it was. So I'm looking to the chat. You guys can let me know. I know one of you has to know because we just got that information recently. 15 million. Okay, so 15 million. Thank you, guys. All right, so Out of the 15 million subscribers to Game Pass, what I would like to see is a pie chart. How many of those 15 million are subscribed from the console? Like, that's the source. That's where they decided to subscribe to Game Pass from, versus how many are subscribed on PC, versus how many are subscribed or will be subscribed through xCloud, right? Like, they're just signing up basically through, outside of the console. I'm just saying, I would love to know that, because if you were to, something tells me that the large majority, like the overwhelming majority, and I could be wrong because we don't have these numbers, so I'm making a guess here. I'm taking a guess. Something tells me that a vast majority and the overall, like, I'd say probably 75% of those subscriptions are from people who own the console. I'm telling you, because there is a connection between those two. Now, the question of how many will stay subscribed, I don't know. But it's, if you look at Netflix, that's, Netflix is what Xbox could become in the future, obviously, like, as an app that's just literally everywhere. Like, you can, it's so accessible, but there's just an inherent difference. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing about Microsoft's plan to become the Netflix of gaming, is that what makes that difficult is there's just a massive inherent difference between how you interact with video content versus how you interact with video games. This is the only thing that really kind of, in my opinion, could get in the way of Microsoft's goal of being the Netflix of gaming, is because, if Xbox were to put the xCloud app, right? The xCloud app on everything, and it seems like they're going to. If they were to get it on TVs, if they were to get it on every single device, that's inherently going to, bump their subscriber numbers, but by how much? To a sustainable level? That's the question. Maybe over time, but still, like, I don't know, man. It's a fascinating conundrum here, because you're saying Game Pass is already profitable, by the way. Is it? I could have swore I saw the opposite of that. I could have swore I saw that, am I wrong on this? Like, I could have swore they came out and said it's not profitable yet. But then again, maybe recently they did reveal it is profitable. Yes, Xbox announced it. It's not. So I say I'm confused. I'm about to look this up right now. I don't think it matters that much, at least not right now, because the only point I'm trying to get at here is all you need to know is this, okay? When it comes to Microsoft's approach, Microsoft and Sony, they're not very different. You have to understand that they both want subscribers. They both want you to subscribe to their services, to subscribe to PlayStation Now and PlayStation Plus, and they want you to buy their games. But the difference is Sony still believes, and I think they're totally justified to believe this, Sony still believes that the hardware is a very important part of that. So if Sony has the mindset where we want to grow our subscriber base, right, and we want to sell more games, than ever before, they believe that the hardware, the PlayStation 5 hardware, is a vital part of that. That without that PlayStation 5 hardware, they would have a much, much more difficult time doing that. And Microsoft, they don't see it that way anymore. Microsoft looks at it as the hardware is just one part of it, but certainly not the most important. But I think it is a little bit more important to Microsoft than they let on at times. I think they're just trying to get people accustomed. Like, they're trying to drill it into people's heads that, like, it's not important because you don't need it anymore, right? But I think it's still important. Phoenix Strong, you're saying, will there be any more surprise announcements? I think there will be. I don't know if necessarily it'll be before launch, but you better believe over the next 3 to 6 months, there will, I believe, be some surprise announcements. Before the consoles launch, that I don't know. Spacebar, you're saying Game Pass isn't profitable yet. Microsoft probably needs to hit double the subs they have right now. Subscription models tend to be a loss leaders for a while. It took Netflix 7 years to profit from it. Yeah, and that's what's interesting to me is like, Netflix has proven that, yeah, this model can be successful, but the question that still remains is, but can it be successful for video games? There's no, I think the fact that video games are an interactive medium is the biggest hurdle that Microsoft's going to have to face. And they're trying their best through like, you see what they're doing with xCloud by letting you, straight up play games right through your screen, like control it through the screen, which sounds like a nightmare. I would have to experience that myself. True Whittier is saying Microsoft has said Game Pass is not profitable right now. Yeah, that's what I remember reading as well. But I think that's the big thing. It's like Netflix doesn't need you to do anything other than press the button and then you consume the content. That's it. To whereas with gaming, what Microsoft needs you to do is press a button and then find more ways to continue pressing buttons to interact with the content. And that could prove to be the biggest hurdle, as strange as that may sound, because I don't know the general mindset. Like, look, here's the question I'll ask, okay? Do we believe, and I'm going to see what you guys in the chat have to say, do we believe that the general casual gaming market, because we have to understand that that's what Microsoft's trying to appeal to as well, just as much with Game Pass. They want to appeal to the general market, the gamers who are not buying consoles, the gamers who don't care about the elite controller. They want to get the best of both worlds, which is understandable. Do we believe they are at a point right now where they would be okay subscribing to something like Game Pass and knowing that anytime they want to interact with their games on Game Pass, they don't need anything other than the screen in front of them? Like, are they, like, I'm only asking this question because to me, that seems like a strange thing, man. Like, I just couldn't imagine wanting to interact with games to any capacity without having a dedicated controller, without having something dedicated to make that experience. And especially the idea of it's just going to be streaming, right? Like, so not only do I not have a dedicated controller, I would have to buy one or buy a device that can hook up to my tablet or phone, but I have to worry about lag as well. I'm just, that's what's so weird to me is like, these are things that when you talk about interacting with Netflix, these are not things that Netflix has to even remotely worry about, And I think that inherently makes the chances of something like Netflix eventually, no matter what, being successful is because you press a button and you stare. And that's all you do. You know what I mean? That's not what video games are. Christopher Brennan, you're saying, do you think Xbox will acquire Ubisoft or Take-Two? We're going to talk about that in a minute with the next topic. So stay tuned. But look, I feel like for most of us, we can agree that like that's not how we would want to consume games. Like, who wants to it just doesn't sound ideal even remotely to me that like, you want a smooth gameplay experience, so you have to rely on the network. So that already kind of sucks. And it's much more difficult to stream games than it is video content. That's just a fact. There's a lot more data involved, right? So that already sucks. But then the idea that, well, if you want to do it through your phone or your tablet, you can use the controls on screen, and that just sounds like a nightmare. I mean, yeah, 5G is a thing, but I don't know. Isn't 5G like not good for you? Isn't it like proven that 5G is like detrimental to human health? Isn't that a thing that's a thing? So it's like even more reason to not stream games. Like, I'm not trying to, mutate my cells while I'm gaming. I mean, I haven't looked into it. That's just what I've heard. I don't even know if it's true or not, but anyway, like, I know that we started talking about saying 5G doesn't harm you. It's bad, but you're another saying it's definitely bad for our health. I don't know. I feel like that's one of those things where, like, look, it's not unheard of for businesses and companies to ignore the damage that something could do to your health for the sake of profit. I mean, just look at the cigarette industry, or the tobacco industry. So we can't be ignorant to that. But still, I like to think we're beyond that now. Like, if 5G really was harmful, that it would not be a thing that's just suddenly going to be everywhere. But I don't know. Stranger things have happened, man, and it's concerning if that's true. Spacebar is saying xCloud as it is right now is pretty unintuitive. It appeals more to the tablet market because of the bigger screen, but I don't see it taking off with phones. Yeah, that's the thing, man, is I feel like with the phones, like, you're still asking people to make an investment. So you have to sign up for xCloud. But then you also, like, if you really want a decent if you want a decent experience, you then maybe invest a little bit more into one of our devices that connects to your phone. At that point, it's like, why wouldn't you just buy a console? Buy the Series S. You know what I mean? Like, um, Christopher Brennan, you're saying 5G will be around even if you don't use it. Yeah, I know that. That's why I'm saying, like, there's no way it can be that detrimental. There's just no way. Tinfoil Hat Podcast. Yeah. It's been proven it's misinformation. Well, we'll find out. Well, I mean, because look, in theory, right? Like, technically, if 5G really is dangerous and it's that harmful, then once 5G is pretty much everywhere over the course of a couple years or so, or eventually we're going to start seeing some mass, we're going to start seeing people suddenly dropping like flies, and we're like, 5G is terrible. We need to revert back. But I just, it doesn't matter to me. You know what I mean? Like, 5G phones are coming out. 5G is going to be everywhere. So if it's bad for you, then we'll find out. If not, then great. So that's all I have to say about that, guys. But, I know we kind of deviated. 7G is going to make you the Hulk. Yeah. Don't be a Facebook mom. Well, we'll see. Like I said, I'm not here to talk about that. I'm just saying it's one of those things. We'll wait and see. But I know I've been talking a lot about the whole Game Pass thing, but I was just wildlife. You're saying 3G introduced Ebola, 5G is now introducing CV. I don't know about that, man. That doesn't sound right to me. But we're going to move on to the next topic. I do just want to wrap this one up real quick and just say, when it comes to Bethesda's games and Phil Spencer's comments, what I'm taking away from it overall is that, yeah, Bethesda's games, they're going to be locked to the Xbox ecosystem, and they're going to do a great job in pumping up Game Pass numbers and just making Xbox as a brand much more relevant. Because let's be honest right now, the second Microsoft acquired Bethesda, that did a really good job in making the Xbox brand a lot more relevant overnight. And so, with that being said, guys, make sure you hit that like button. We're almost at 600 likes. We have over 1,100 people watching, so thank you guys for still being here and hang out with me. You're saying I missed. Oh yeah, sorry, Freeze Vamp. I'll try not to miss your message again. It's difficult sometimes. I'm sure you understand. You guys helping out, Freeze Vamp. But Freeze Vamp, you're saying, hello, MBG, I'm not feeling well. I'm mad about what I hope you feel better. Saying, I'm mad about what Kojima did. He denied Metal Gear to be on the PS5. It was my favorite game. Like, I was going to buy the PS5 for it. I don't know what to do. I haven't seen that. Is it true, guys? Can you guys back this up? Is it true that Kojima denied that Metal Gear is going to be on the PS5? I haven't seen that. And you're welcome for the videos, buddy. The stream isn't ending yet. No, I still have some more topics. I'm getting hungry, but I do have more topics. I might not be able to do a Q&A today. It depends, because we are getting closer to that 2-hour mark. And I still have about 2 topics to go over here. Hopefully the podcast is doing better than the last one, because I think the last one I did, it was pretty clear. I just needed to take a little break. And it helped a lot. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. You guys are saying that Kojima just confirmed he's not involved with Metal Gear Solid anymore, that he's creating something new. I don't think he didn't deny that. Like, he's not at liberty. Kojima's not at liberty to say whether there's going to be a Metal Gear Solid game on the PS5. The only thing he's at liberty to say is whether or not he's involved with it or whether he's working on it. So, yeah, hopefully that kind of clears things up. That doesn't mean that we're not going to see a Metal Gear remake potentially coming from Sony, maybe one of their studios potentially, maybe Blue Point. But yeah, Kojima is known to be a little bit of a troll, just a little bit, right? Thierry A, you're saying, do you think Microsoft made the Series X to have Sony come out first, then update their console with their Series family of consoles later? No, I don't think so. I think that Microsoft's goal with the Series X, and by naming it the Series, I think, first of all, it does make it clear that they're going to release like another version at some point. And that could be the thing that forces Sony, like whether Sony has intentions to make a PS5 Pro or not. I think if Microsoft releases a mid-gen refresh console, that could force Sony into doing so as well. But I don't know, man. Like the thing about these consoles is they are future-proofed, especially, look, I know people don't want to believe this, but especially with the PS5, the IO throughput, like the reason why Sony focused on the IO throughput and the SSD speed and just the data transfer is because they know that that's the future of game development. And in a way, they are future-proofing in that sense. So, where the Xbox Series X console right now is looked at as, the console with the advantage because it has more compute units and it can, have better effects and like prettier games. When you talk about overall game design and philosophy, this is where Sony made some very bold decisions that could maybe not pay off. Like, let me just put it to you this way. If we do get a series, like another Xbox Series console that's a mid-gen refresh, then you don't be surprised if it doesn't have any more compute units, but instead it has a better SSD, like a faster SSD, and the focus is mainly on the IO throughput improvements at a hardware level, not a software level. Don't be surprised if that's a thing that happens. That's all. And we could see Sony do the other approach where basically they're going to keep their IO throughput the way it is because their IO throughput is pretty future-proofed right now and just bump up the compute units. Who knows? That's dude, we could end up seeing both of these consoles get to the same place in the end if we see mid-gen refreshes. We have Oe Yakarumi, you're saying turn the 5G like your final destination, like the movie Final Destination. Yeah. I don't think so, man. I don't think so. But anyway, guys, we're going to move on to the next topic. Once again, hit that like button. I apologize for sounding like a broken record. I just feel like when you're watching these streams live, it's so easy to not do that. But we're going to talk briefly about this rumor that came up. I saw some people talking about this, and so let me read to you what I have written down here. So there's been some talk of a new rumor going around recently that Microsoft is possibly in the final stages of acquiring another major studio/publisher. This rumor, stems from an Xbox podcast called Xbox Era, where The Verge's Tom Warren said he feels like another acquisition announcement is coming, but then an individual named Special Ed, I guess is how he says that, said, it's a weird name, said he actually heard that Microsoft does have another acquisition announcement that they will be making. Now, what's important to note here is that he did not provide a source, and I also don't know how credible or not credible this individual happens to be. I do think this is something we may want to keep in the back of our minds, though, mainly because Microsoft's CEO, Satya Nadella, I believe it was, said after the Bethesda acquisition that they will continue to pursue further major publisher acquisitions, just like we saw with ZeniMax. So, look, I don't know how much, I don't watch this podcast. I don't know who this individual is, so I cannot vouch for their their credibility. What I know is that I haven't heard this come from anywhere else. And I think this could very well just be a symptom of, people, Xbox fans really want Microsoft to announce another studio acquisition. What is interesting, guys, let me take a sip of my coffee here because I want to say something. Oh, sorry. But what is interesting, guys, is, you know, the fact that Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella, the fact he said this so quickly after this announcement, that's very telling. And when you also factor in that Microsoft has one more show before the end of the year, that being XO, I think that's what it's called, XO20. And you need to understand that at one point in time, I forget if it was I think it was 2018, at the end of their XO show, they announced two more studio acquisitions, I believe. I believe it was two more. Maybe it was one more. I'm just saying that when you combine these two things, is it likely that Microsoft may have also been working on another deal behind the scenes? It might be. I mean, I don't know how likely it is. I'm just saying the most telling thing, like, look, this rumor, I don't have any stock in it whatsoever because it's coming from, a random place. I could make up a rumor right now, like, guys, I'm Sony's gonna have another studio acquisition. It's coming. And, am I credible? Like, have I ever made claims like that in the past? And no, I never have. And I never have because I don't know, right? Like, and I'm just saying, like, to me, it seems more likely that it's something we could assume can happen relatively soon, simply because of what Microsoft's CEO said. So I guess what I'm trying to say with this here, I was asked the question earlier in a super chat, do I think Satya Nadella didn't specifically say major publishers, unquote. He said acquiring more video game companies, so it could be smaller studios like Double Fine. Yeah, you are right about that. He purposely worded it that way because he wants it to be known that they're not just targeting major publishers or companies like WB or Ubisoft. But, I don't know, man. The craziest, I've said this before, and it's hard not to talk about it because it is worrisome, man. Like, it is worrisome. Like, what's worrisome is that Microsoft has the ability to monopolize. That's the point. Sony does not. Now, whether or not Microsoft will be able to monopolize, whether they want to, we don't know. I mean, I know that there's legally certain things that they can't do or whatever, but I was asked earlier in this podcast, do you think that we could see Microsoft acquiring Ubisoft or Take-Two Interactive? I'm going to tell you right now, I really hope not. I really hope not, because at that point, I would be scared for Sony. Because if Microsoft is just like, we don't care anymore, like, we'll buy every publisher that's willing to sell, and we will make sure that the price is right. If that were to happen, and that's like like if that's what the next generation is going to look like for Xbox, then that really sucks for PlayStation, and that sucks for Sony, because at that point, I would have to assume, like, let me put it to you this way, all right. If we were to see a situation, let's say at XO20 this year, at the XO conference, at the end of it, there's a massive announcement that Microsoft has acquired Take-Two Interactive. At that point, if they were to also announce or make it clear that any future titles from these major companies they're acquiring and these major IP they're acquiring, they're no longer going to go to PlayStation, at that point, it would be safe to say that Microsoft is trying to murder PlayStation. Like, straight up, like, kill them, because that would be scary. That would be scary, man. You're saying Microsoft cannot buy Take-Two, they make too much. Well, it's not that they can't buy Take-Two. Let's be honest, like, we need to be real right now. Microsoft can buy whoever they want. If Take-Two Interactive said, we're worth this much and we will not, like, we're not selling. Like, if Microsoft were to make an offer for X amount of dollars and Take-Two said, yeah, no, that's not enough, Microsoft could double that money if they wanted to. Now, whether or not that's a smart thing for them to do, that's their decision to make. Yes, Take-Two Interactive would possibly be the most expensive. But don't think for a second that Microsoft couldn't buy them if they just didn't care. But see, things don't work like that though. Like Phil Spencer isn't going to say, well, they want $25 billion, make it happen. Like, no, he's not going to do that. He's not going to do that, okay? That's not going to be a thing that happens because that's just not smart business. I mean, that you would have to make that type of investment, you would have to have some really good faith that you're going to recoup that money pretty quickly. And, even looking, the only thing that's concerning to me as well is like, look, I think that the fact that Phil Spencer just blatantly said, we don't have to put our games on, like he's so confident that they're going to recoup that $7.5 billion quickly. Dude, that's what's concerning. Now that could just be false confidence, but I don't know, man. Like he's not going to come out here and say, oh, it's going to take forever. He's not going to say that. But the fact he's just so quick to jump and say, oh, we can recoup that. No problem. We don't have to put him anywhere. That tells me that they have some type of plan in place and they've like crunched the numbers where they're maybe them spending $7.5 billion may be a drop in the bucket for them. It really may be. And that's what's concerning. Christopher Brennan, you're saying MBG label each of these as likely or not likely. Ubisoft. So I'm assuming this is in regards to Xbox or Microsoft acquiring Ubisoft. I think is I think Ubisoft is somewhat likely. I'll put a middle one, like somewhat likely, because they've proven that they do value their independence and they don't want to be bought out. But it seems like mainly they don't want to be bought out because they prefer to be bought out by a yet again. I'm idle in the background every single week with this podcast footage. There's just a moment where I'm idle. When will it end? But anyway, I think Ubisoft is likely to the extent where if the company that wants to buy them out aligns with their independent nature, then I think it could be more likely. And, Microsoft basically said to Bethesda, do what you want. Like, you're autonomous. We own you, but you do what you want. You publish your own games. That's another thing that's concerning, guys. Like, this is why I think they're getting ready to monopolize, because they don't have, like, Microsoft, they're smart. Like, they know what they're doing by them basically saying, you do what you want. You publish your own games. Go ahead. They're basically trying to show other major publishers and companies that, yeah, we will give you freedom. And that's very appealing. And Microsoft is a big company that a lot of other smaller companies can basically find, like they can look at it as like a safe haven, So Ubisoft, I'm going to say somewhat likely. Take-Two, I think, is unlikely. I think they're not likely, mainly because, the amount of money that they would have to pay, I mean, it's possible, like they can afford it, but I just don't know that they would want to make a business transaction that large. I just don't think that it would be worth it for them. EA is another one that I think is unlikely because of how big they are, how expensive they would be. Activision, same with them. WB, I think, is potentially likely in the future. They went up for sale briefly, but then they didn't. And yeah, you're right. Shareholders have to want to sell as well. But if the price is right, man, if the price is right, and then you're saying Sega, I don't know. I don't think Sega, like, I'm just being honest. Like, is Sega even really that valuable to a company like Microsoft? I could be wrong, but I don't know. That's possible. Sega, I think, is maybe on the more likely side if it ever were to happen. Let me make sure I didn't miss any other super chats here. But yeah, I mean, the whole idea of them having some type of other big major announcement, I'm just going to tell you guys this. Just pay attention, because I was asked earlier as well, like, do I think there will be any more surprise announcements? I mean, it's guaranteed there's going to be surprise announcements. Oh, somebody also brought up CD Projekt Red. That's another one. Like, CD Projekt Red, they love their independence, but I don't know, man. Like, again, Microsoft is proving that they will acquire these companies and let them do what they want. But still, you are, to a lot of these companies who are run by people who really value their independence and the shareholders that care about that as well, it can very much feel like you're signing your soul over, even though you're probably not. I mean, in some cases, it can feel like that. But um, Christopher, you're saying actions speak louder than words. We'll see how much independence Xbox actually allows to their studios. They have killed studios in the past, i.e., Rare. Yeah, that's true. We will have to see. Talk is talk, you know what I mean? And talk can be very cheap, but we'll see. Spacebar. If Microsoft wants to get into Japan, Sega is a decent one for them to get. Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that aspect. That is another. Yeah, that would be a good road into Japan there for sure. But we have to keep in mind that as far as Sony having any major surprises left before the end of the year, I want to say no. I mean, I feel like Sony has laid their cards out on the table. They still have many cards that they're playing close to the chest, but I think they're saving those cards to play at a later date when they feel like they might really need it, and it might make more sense because right now PlayStation 5 consoles are sold out. They're going to be sold out for a little while. They're going to continue to sell really well. There's really no urgency for Sony to come out here and reveal a bunch of new stuff or make some major announcement. If Microsoft does continue to make big announcements, then that might put some pressure on Sony to be like, okay, maybe we have to expedite this process of making these announcements, potentially. And, we have to understand that Microsoft does still have an event planned before the end of the year. And so I do want you guys, the whole reason I covered this was because keep it in the back of your mind that Microsoft may still be saving something. And we also have to pay attention to just how much press this announcement gave them. Obviously, they knew it was going to generate a lot of press, but guys, I followed this stuff very closely, and I know a lot of you do too as well. Like, we're enthusiasts here. I think we can all agree that there was some kind of major surge. Like, we've talked for years now about the big Xbox comeback. Now, I'm not saying that Microsoft acquiring Bethesda is the big comeback, because the comeback will come in a different form. The comeback that Microsoft needs is proving that their games are on another level, that people like, whoa, okay, like now they're getting serious. And that could, that still may be in the cards. But when I tell you that this is the closest thing to a major comeback that we've seen so far in terms of just how people are talking differently about Xbox now, how people are perceiving them, and it's just completely, I don't know, it's just completely flipped the script for Xbox in particular, not necessarily at the detriment of PlayStation. That's what I want you guys to understand. Not yet anyway. It may come at the detriment of PlayStation, like, for example, when Starfield comes out and Starfield isn't on PS5. Yeah, that will be at the detriment of PlayStation. But I'm just trying to say that, like, there's also, Christopher, you're saying we had the Game Awards too. That's where the Series X was announced. Yes, good point as well. So we also have the Game Awards. So in that case, maybe Sony might have another big announcement, because I totally forgot about that. Also, who do you think is going to win Game of the Year? Do you think it's going to be The Last of Us Part 2? I feel like it's going to be The Last of Us Part 2. I wasn't a big fan of the story told in that game, but I don't know, man. It seems like that's going to be the game that wins it. Also, is Cyberpunk 2077 still in contention for, like, isn't there like a cutoff date? What's the cutoff date for games? Ghost of Tsushima. I'm going to be real right now. I don't think Ghost of Tsushima is going to win. I would love it to. I think that it has a lot of potential, but I could see it being nominated. I don't necessarily think it would win, though. I would love to see Ghost of Tsushima. No, it missed the cutoff. So wait, it missed the cutoff, so it's still good? It's past the cutoff date. That's what I thought too. But that would suck, man. If Cyberpunk misses the cutoff date, or they go past the cutoff date and they can't be in the running, that would suck only because I would love to see it go head to head with The Last of Us 2 and Ghost of Tsushima. That would be very interesting. That would remind me of Red Dead Redemption 2 versus God of War. Solid Crusader 89. Hey MBG, I'm pretty sure Sony are investing more of their time on making the new PlayStation VR 2 instead of focusing on buying more independent developers. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of investment going into PSVR 2 for sure, but you also have to understand with that, they do need to focus on buying more developers for VR games as well. So I think there's investment happening all around behind the scenes. I'm very, interested to see if, um, to see what Sony's next studio acquisition is going to be. I'm very interested in that because I don't know what to expect. I don't think anybody does. Christopher, once again, thank you for the super chats, guys. You're saying the cutoff was November 19th last year. So when does Cyberpunk come out? The 17th? Or does it come out on the 19th? I should know these things, but I forget. I got a lot of crap that I got to remember. So the 19th. So the day of. That would be interesting. That's interesting then. I do wonder, like, if it comes out on the 19th, does it have to, like, is it still in the running? Or is that cutting it too close? But all right, guys, we do have one more topic, and this is a fairly interesting topic, and I'm very interested to see what you guys have to say about this. First of all, I just want to continue to thank you guys for being here with me today. I think the show's going really well. I know I'm enjoying it, and I hope you guys are enjoying it as well. Once again, hit that like button. We crushed the 650 like mark. Let's see if we can get it to 700 likes. Let's see if we can push it and possibly get it to 750 likes. Can we hit that goal, guys? Can we hit 750 likes? Hit that like button. We have over 1,000 people still watching. So the final topic we're going to be discussing has to do with the PlayStation Party Chat controversy, because God knows there has been a lot of not so great conversation surrounding this. Christopher, you're saying the cutoff was on the 15th. Sorry, that was a typo. Oh, okay. Oh, that's really disappointing. Maybe they'll make an exception. Maybe they'll make an exception this time, because Cyberpunk's just that type of game. They probably won't, but man, that sucks. That really sucks, because I would have loved to have seen that game go head to head with Sony's titles and other titles that have released throughout the year, like Final Fantasy and whatnot. But yeah, wow, we're already almost at 700 likes. Thank you guys for that. You guys are awesome. So we're going to talk about the whole party chat thing, because it seems like there's like new updates to this every day. So there was a recent controversy with PS4 and PS5 party chats. First of all, some changes were made to how the party chats work with update 8.0. And the big thing here that people are fixated on is that you can't do a party chat solo anymore. They basically made it so there's groups. And in order to even start a party, you have to start a group. And this is like, a big deal to a lot of people. But the biggest thing here is that everyone is hung up on the fact that apparently Sony came out and were saying that party chats were going to be recorded, but they didn't communicate this properly. And so a lot of people assume that all party chats are being recorded at all times. Then they did an update through a blog post basically saying, no, that's not how it works. Basically, if you want to report somebody, you can take the last 5 minutes of the party chat and then cut out like 40 seconds and send it in. But then people are like, wait, but doesn't that remove context? So couldn't that get people in trouble for just making like an edgy joke or something like that? But there was an update that I believe was put out last night that I have to read to you guys. PlayStation Nexus, you're saying PS5 only on Twitter just posted photos of the DualSense being shipped out. So I haven't been on Twitter, so I can't verify that. I'm looking right now. I'm not seeing anything like that. I think if you're talking about the photos that have surfaced of the controllers like hitting Walmart and retailers and stuff, I have seen that. But the update that PlayStation put out, and this is extremely interesting because PlayStation is not known to communicate to their fan base in such a candid way, where it was posted 18 hours ago on Twitter. It has about 37,000 likes, over 4,000 retweets. Again, this was 18 hours ago. This is what they posted. Hey folks, just wanted to let you know that we are looking into your feedback on the recent changes to parties on PS4. Thanks for speaking up. We'll keep you posted. Now, what's interesting is they specifically said PS4, to whereas the blog post update that they put out regarding the recording of the party chats was just about PlayStation 5. So I'm actually going to read a little bit of that here to you so you understand what's going on here. And so they put out this blog post and it says details on the new voice chat functionality coming to PS5. And, they're talking about managing online safety. They're talking about how they did not properly convey this. They are also mentioning their code of conduct. They're making it clear that the only thing you have to be worried about is if you are doing something that interferes with their code of conduct. Now, if you go read through their code of conduct, I have to admit to you guys, it's some pretty intense stuff there. So, you really would have to be, in my opinion, going kind of out of your way to break their code of conduct. You would have to be doing something that's just so obviously, so overtly messed up that it's like, okay, this is not good. You have to basically be abusing somebody. You have to be harassing somebody. You have to be doing some kind of gathering of some sort. But the only real issue I seem to have found with this, because I have to read this to you so you understand what exactly they're saying. They said once the PS5 console launches, if a PS5 player needs to file a harassment report, they will be able to include up to a 40-second long voice chat clip in their report. 20 seconds of the main conversation with the other player, plus an additional 10 seconds before and after the conversation selection. Now, it goes on to say, once only the most recent 5 minutes of the voice chat will be available for the player to use for this reporting function. So that's what it talks about when it's talking about your party chat may be recorded. So basically, if you're in a party chat with somebody and you say something that they find abusive or consider harassment, and they believe it's serious enough that they file a harassment report, what they can do is skim through the last 5 minutes of your party chat conversation, cut out 40 seconds of it. And to me, this is where the problem potentially arises, because what's really difficult for me to understand with this is how can we do this system without, where's the context? Do you see what I'm saying? Sony's basically trying to make it sound like the only thing they're going to hear is that 40-second clip that's submitted. But if we have the ability to kind of cut up that clip for ourselves, then I have a feeling a lot of out of context things that are being said are going to be submitted to Sony. And so then my question becomes, how is Sony going to be able to determine what's just an edgy joke taken out of context versus what's actually legitimately something that needs to be dealt with? You know what I'm saying? And you could argue, well, just don't make the edgy jokes, but that's just come on. I have a feeling people are going to be trolling their friends a lot with this, and there's going to potentially be a lot of unnecessary bans, because of this. JD Gamer is saying this is BS. The bottom line is that PS is recording you and not telling you what they will be listening to. This is why I didn't have the Connect crap. Yeah, dude, I totally understand that. I don't agree with it. I do not agree with it. But the reality of life is I guarantee you that almost everything around you that has the ability to record you is recording you without you knowing. I'm just being honest right now. That's most likely what's happening. But maybe Sony made the mistake of telling us. But I agree, man. I'm not a fan of that. If I'm in a private party chat, leave me alone. Also, why would you be in a party chat with somebody that you feel like you may be abused by or harassed by? You know what I mean? That's a little bit strange to me. Aren't you supposed to be in party chats with people that you want to be around and talk to? Solid Crusader 89, you're saying someone who is really hot-headed and gets triggered by cheaters, it's way better off to avoid playing multiplayer and just play campaign mode. Yeah, that's where a lot of the toxicity can be, but that, to me, that's, look, Let me read you the rest of this. It says the reports can be submitted directly through the PlayStation 5 console. So you will be able to do this right through your PS5, and you will be sent a it will be sent to a customer experience team for moderation who will then listen to the recording and take action if needed. Some submitted reports will not be valid, and our team will take this as an opportunity to provide guidance and education. There won't be an option to opt. See, this is the part that has people pissed off. There will not be an option to opt out of this voice chat recording function because we want all users to feel safe when playing with others online, not just those who choose to enable it. Now, look, I'm all about protecting your player base and whatnot, and harassment is a serious thing. Abuse, it's terrible. That stuff does happen. But do we not have a block button? Do we not have a mute button? Do you not have the ability to make it so? I mean, come on. Like, this is kind of ridiculous a little bit. Like, I mean, it's not completely like I understand what they're going for, but this is, I don't know why Sony's doing this because it's only going to result in them pissing people off. This is going to result in people, as we see here, being mad that they cannot opt out of it. And it's going to result in a lot of people submitting stuff that's just not valid. And my only issue at this point, because this is just something they're going to do, my real issue at this point is, you know, how are you supposed to determine in a 40-second clip whether a complaint is valid or not? You know, that's what I don't understand. I mean, it's just really strange to me because at that point it's like, again, like if somebody wants to troll somebody and they want to, you know, somebody like, you know, somebody gets angry, they say something not so great, or they make some kind of edgy joke, and one of their friends in the party, you know, decides to file a complaint to troll them without telling them. And this person finds out they got banned because they basically took something that was completely out of context. There was no abuse. There was no harassment. It was just somebody getting angry and saying something or making some edgy joke. You see what I'm saying? Like, this is where Sony needs to do a better job in conveying, like, what exactly, like, how exactly do you expect this to work? Like, we get you want everybody to feel safe, but it almost comes off as like you're trying to make it so that people in party chats have to worry about what they're saying, even if you're in a private party chat with your friends. Okay? Like, that's a problem. And that's why I get, like, some people are like, oh, they're blowing it, you know, they're blowing it out of proportion. But come on, like, you got, I'm just saying this, to me, the fact that this is being relegated to party chats is like, why? Like, why would you ever, like, if you enter a party chat with somebody that does something that to you comes off as abuse or harassment, you then leave that party chat and block that person so you never have to worry about ever interacting with them on this platform again. Like, how is that? You see what I'm saying? So, but, you know, I'm only seeing it from one viewpoint. So we have the KC review. You're saying, I support Sony. A month ago, I was playing with my friend's daughter, and someone called her out, her name. I defended her, but there are idiots out there. I get that, but I'm just saying, like, why don't you just, you know, like, I mean, if you're talking, I'm assuming what you're saying, if what you're saying, basically, it sounds like you were playing with somebody and they were a female and they got called some name or something, you know, and you didn't like that, and, you know, you're like basically trying to tell that. I'm assuming that was done through public chat, because if that was in party chat, you leave that chat, you make your own private party, you know what I mean, with just that person, and you block whoever did that. You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, man. I have a bad feeling about this. I just think that it's going to create a lot of unnecessary bans. That's what I'm trying to say. Because if somebody's really doing, like, if somebody's really doing something like that's super serious like that, Sony has the ability to listen in and discover that. Okay? Like, it's almost like Sony's trying to, like, find out, like, oh man, like, we gotta pinpoint the terrorists who were, disguising their meetings in PlayStation party chats. Like, come on. Even if that was a thing that's happening in a private party chat, what you're telling me one of those individuals are going to rat out their entire group and they're going to do so in a 40-second clip? Like, what? It's kind of, dude, I'm sorry. It's pretty dumb. It's a dumb system. And it's not like the idea behind it is pure. I get it. You just want people to have a good experience. Bullying, harassment, it's all crap that shouldn't exist. And we need, not necessarily protection, but we need tools to be able to deal with it. But this system seems completely flawed, in my opinion. Christopher, once again, you're saying, I don't like that you can't start a party and leave it open for friends to join as they wish. You have to select specific people. So inconvenient. Yeah, see, that's the thing here, that is what concerns me a little bit about this update that Sony came out here and said, saying, we just wanted to let you know that we're looking into your feedback on the recent changes to parties on PS4. They're making it very clear, in my opinion, there that this has nothing to do with this PlayStation 5 party chat recording stuff. It's complete. They're talking about what you're talking about. They're probably going to revert it back to where you can start a solo party and you can just invite, let people join as they want if it's open. The KC review, you're saying it was Call of Duty Warzone. Yeah, I mean, look, I know that there's people who are going to be like, it's, we're blowing this out of proportion, but me personally, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't care at all because I'm never going to encounter a situation, at least I don't anticipate that I will ever encounter a situation when playing on my PS5 in a party chat that I'm going to feel the need, I need to report this person for what they just said. I'm never going to, why would I ever, I'm going to leave that party, block that person, mute that person, and never speak to them again and go about my business. Just like Twitter, you block and you walk away. You know what I mean? You hit a single button and you walk away. Why in God's name would I feel the need to, I'm going to record this person and I'm going to get the worst thing they said. I'm going to send that to Sony so Sony can spank them. What? Come on. It's just, that's why I don't care, because I'm never going to use it. However, because I know I'm not going to use it, how do I know that if I'm in a party chat with one of my friends, my friends are good, mostly good people. If they were to, I trust them enough, to not troll me like that. You know what I mean? And to me, it just seems like it's only going to bring up more problems, potentially. True Witty, you're saying, that's why I only really play single player games at times. Yeah. Solid Crusader 89, you're saying, say if I'm playing Black Ops alone, considering not playing with my friends or with voice party chat on, am I still being recorded if I curse online? Yeah, I don't know, man. That's what it's weird and it's totally unnecessary. That's my whole thing about this is this is the definition of unnecessary. Sony does come off as they're trying to be a Karen right now. Come on. Primal Plasma, you're saying the government FCC is about to force social media companies to enforce what is posted by users or the companies to be held accountable. Ugh. That's a whole nother. Yeah, see, that's scary, man. That's scary. I mean, you talk about censorship, and I'm all about holding yourself accountable and I'm a firm believer that what you say can have consequences, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't be allowed to say it. Okay? That's what freedom of speech is. Freedom of speech is not you can say whatever you want and there will be no consequences. No, freedom of speech is you can say whatever you want. What might happen after that? Well, that's on you, But the idea that you're trying to silence people is the problem. To stop them from ever saying it in the first place, that, I don't know, man. That's where things become that's not freedom of speech. That's censorship. There's a big difference. And censorship is not a good thing, in my opinion. I mean, I think every company has the right to determine for themselves whether they want to censor things or not. Of course, that's their right to decide, but I don't know, man. If what you're saying about the FCC is true, that's weird. Stu, you're saying you're wrong. Virtually every Destiny 2 fire team, millions of players are formed with pickup groups online and exclusively use party chat. But see, how am I wrong about that though? Even if that's true, just get rid of that person. Like if what they're saying is that bad, just mute them, block them. That's all I'm saying. Like the tools are there to use at your discretion. And that's what I don't like about this. To be honest, like that's what I don't like about this, and I don't want to see. I don't know what Microsoft, if they have something similar or if they're planning on doing something similar. I don't want any, like, this is dumb. It's just dumb, man. Like, let people take care of it themselves. I don't need Sony to act like my gaming government here. I don't need them to, parent me and be big brother to me. Like, I don't need that. And I don't want that. Like, just let me do things at my own discretion. Okay? Make people, if anything, make it easier for people to block people and mute them. Make it easier. And let people know just how easy it is. I know I'm ranting a little bit, but I don't know. I understand the intention behind it. It's meant to be something pure and it's meant to be something good, but this is just where you start to unnecessarily, again, I just can't get away from that word, unnecessary. In my opinion, Sony deciding to announce some complicated, ridiculous PlayStation 5 party chat recording system is just as unnecessary as them changing the entire party system itself to groups. Like, I just need to know who made this decision. Because there should, like, whoever made this decision, if it was like some kind of boardroom meeting, at least somebody there, or at least a few people should have spoke up and said, this is unnecessary. Like, why? Why are we doing this? Who wants this? Who asked for this? Morgan, you're saying the crazy thing is Xbox had the same feature for years, but everyone is freaking out towards Sony. People are going overboard. That's what I heard. That's what I heard, is that Xbox has the same feature, and I don't know, man. Like, maybe I'm wrong. I will admit this. Maybe I'm wrong in the sense that when we go into the PS5, if this is just not a thing, I don't know, man. I don't think I'm wrong. I think that this, I'm going to tell you why this concerns me. Do you guys remember back in, like, what was it, 2018 and 2019? I don't know if they're still doing it. I haven't really been paying much attention, but how Sony is, like, censoring these games. Like, this is where Sony comes off as an absolutely ridiculous company sometimes. And I love a lot of what they do, but we need to acknowledge that this is the same company who has individuals working there who decided that we need to censor Devil May Cry 5. We need to censor these other games. And, like, regardless of what you think of those games, like how weird they are, and yes, there are some lines. Well, you know what? That's the thing, is, like, there are no lines that you shouldn't be able to cross. That is art, people. Okay, that's art. You cannot censor art. If you decide you don't want it on your platform, that is Sony's right to decide that. If Sony says this is crossing the line, we're not putting it on here, that's their right to do that, and I can't argue that. However, it's absolutely ridiculous, because when you're censoring things that even Nintendo is letting, you need to reevaluate who's making these decisions. And on top of that, this is the best part. When you're going to censor stuff like that and say, "Oh, it's over sexualized. It's too sexual, and we have to put a lens flare over," oh, what was it? Was it Trish, or who was the girl in Devil May Cry 5 where, like, Dante or somebody picked them up and you could see their ass for a second, and they put a lens flare there because, oh man, you can't see that. It's too sexual. You're going to actually try to make it sound like that's too much, but then you're going to release a game like The Last of Us 2 where a pregnant woman gets brutally murdered. Are you fucking kidding me? Excuse my language, but this is, like, that's like another level of hypocrisy. Stu, you're saying people threatening murder, telling people to kill themselves, using the N-word, they deserve a ban. It's accountability. I do agree. Like, look, I do agree that that type of talk should not be around. But here's the reality of it, is it's always going to be. And I'm just more a believer in, if you are in a party with somebody who's saying those things, but they're like serious. Because let's be real, there's a lot of edgy jokes that are made. Okay, that's just part of online culture. Edgy jokes. I mean, I'm not about it, but it is what it is, right? Dark humor, it's a thing. But if you're around somebody who's really like that, okay, like I'm just a believer in just take it into your own hands and block them, because that's not like them getting banned from the platform isn't going to change them. It's not going to stop them. They're just going to go to another platform and do it. You know what I mean? That's all I'm trying to say. Because Sony's trying to mask this as like, oh, it's about you. It's about you. It's about protecting the gamer. Like, no, it's not. You're trying. I get what. Like, stop. Like, please, just stop. Ryan, you're saying you talked about Xbox acquisition stuff yet? Just tuned in. I did actually. That was the topic before this. So, Devil Shooter, I did see you in here. Shout out to Devil Shooter. This is the person who does the timestamps each week for the podcast, and we greatly appreciate his service and what he does. He does great work. So shout out to Devil Shooter. He will be able to hopefully timestamp that for you so you can check it out after the fact. But sorry you missed it, buddy. But Christopher, you're saying Sony, the same company that made God of War sex minigames. Yeah. Is that really? Is that a thing? I feel like you're being hyperbolic here. A God of War sex minigame? I don't believe that. Brad Beck, you're saying MVG reporting people like he bans the spammers. Well, that's the thing, dude, is like, yeah, okay, Devil Shooter. Yeah, shout out to you, Devil Shooter 126. Do I trust Red Gaming Tech? I'm a hardcore fan of Metal Gear Solid. I think you can trust him. I mean, it's a matter of if his source is correct, but I didn't mean to go on such a rant about this, but we have to be able to be, real. Okay. We have to call a spade, and Sony, I think, is just taking it too far here. Okay. Like, to have the ability to report people is something that should be there, of course. Like, that should always be there. But to take it to another level where you're now going to be able to record them or take the last 5 minutes of your party chat as a recording and then manually edit 40 seconds, like that, what? That is taking things to just a whole nother level. Also, wait, hold on. Whoa. Totally forgot. I know, dude, the same Sony who's censoring over-sexualized games is the same Sony that gave Naughty Dog the green light with that scene. Yeah, that scene with Abby in The Last of Us 2. Lest we not forget. Wow. Because I forgot, and I just remembered right now, and that's why I'm like, oh my God. D-Dog is saying, bro, I did never play the old God of War games. Did you never play the old God of War games? I didn't, actually. There's sex everywhere, not explicitly shown, though. Yeah, well, can't say that about The Last of Us 2, though, right? JC Diaz, you're saying because they switched headquarters to California. Yeah, oh my God. Yeah, that. Yep. I forgot about that. Christopher, you're saying it's legit, the old PS2 God of War games and maybe God of War 3. Damn. Do I think Sony will become ignorant again, just like the PS3? I mean, I don't think they're become ignorant. I think that this is where, like, look, it's really nice to see. It's like, I don't want to only talk bad about this because it is nice to see, like I said, this post that they put out 18 hours ago where they talked very candidly. Like, Sony doesn't come out like this and talk like this, where they're like, we wanted to let you know that we're looking into your feedback. Thank you for speaking up. Okay, that's good. So what they're saying is if we keep speaking up about the party chat recording thing, then maybe they will reverse that as well. Because you know what? We do have to keep that same energy here, people. Just like we freaked out. We freaked out on Xbox One with the whole Kinect thing. People lost their minds. Is the Kinect recording us and all this stuff? And it, Microsoft had to do a lot of explaining. They had to do a lot of reversals. This is where Sony, like, you gotta be kidding me, dude. Like, you gotta be kidding me. You have so much going for you. And look, do I believe there are people who have PS5 pre-orders that are now canceling them, saying, I'm going to go to Xbox because of this. Well, first of all, I'm pretty sure it is true that Xbox has this same feature, so I don't know what's going on there. I get that you're trying to send a message, but I just hope Sony gets the feedback. At the very least, guys, like, I don't know if this is a battle we're going to win. At the very least, I really hope they like fix this current system they have where you take 40 seconds and submit it, because that's ridiculous. Like, if I was working at Sony's tech support or whatever, and I was told that you're gonna have to listen to 40-second clips that are manually cut out and determine, it's like a game, and determine if this is legit or not. Like, what? Like, how is anybody supposed to do that? Morgan, once again, you're saying, I don't believe people are actually going to actively use this. We're all going to forget about this in a month. People should stop overreacting. Yeah, that's a possibility as well. Like, I told you guys, like, I don't care, because my concern, as ridiculous as it sounds, my concern is more with the people who are going to basically break this system, and make other people's lives miserable over it. And if that's a thing that continues to happen, where, Sony says here in this blog post, they said, well, we will, what did they say? They said that we expect to get, we will get many complaints that are not valid or submissions that are not valid, and we will educate these people. Like, what does that even mean? Like, you're going to educate them? So you're going to tell me, what are you going to say to all the people who submit false clips or grief clips, just trying to, like, get their friends in trouble or troll their friends? What are you going to, what are you going to say to them? Please don't do this again. And, like, okay, like, I'm telling you, it's a flawed system. It's a flawed system. It's in my opinion, it's very obviously 3 false reports and you get suspended. Yeah, there you go. That's something. At least that would at least make sure that people are not just, constantly doing that. I think that would be a good thing as well, to maybe balance this out, because it needs some type of balancing here. So anyway, yeah, I think that's going to do it for this topic. I do apologize for ranting so much about that, but, I've seen a lot of people talking about this, and I have yet to talk about it, and I just wanted to give my 2 cents and let you guys know that it's not going to stop me from buying a PS5. It's not going to stop me from using Party Chat on my PS5, but I would be lying if I said that this is perfectly fine and okay, because it's not. It's a little bit ridiculous, and it's flawed, and I think that Sony needs to do something about that. Not like, they need to address the PS5 party chats, not just the PS4. Christopher, once again, you're saying, are we being recorded in-game chat too? I don't think so. I don't think Sony can do that. That's basically up to the publisher, and I don't think they'll ever let you know if they are or not. So, how's my back feeling? It's doing much better. Dude, whatever, I know. Thank you for asking. And those of you who are aware that I injured my back, dude, it is the slowest healing process. Like, I don't think I've ever damaged my back like this before, and because it's still healing, but it's doing a lot better, much, much better. So thank you for asking. I appreciate that. So what I want to do is, we are almost at 2 hours and 40 minutes, but I feel like I can at least do a brief Q&A, nothing too long, because it is, we are running out of time here, and I want to just fix the chat here. Let me enable slow mode. All right, guys, we're going to finish this podcast off with a brief Q&A. So any questions you guys want to ask, go ahead. MBG, are they going to I'm not reading that, dude. I'm going to say no, but I'm not reading that, but I'm going to say no to that. Saying MBG, I've hurt my back while training in the past. Ouch. Take care. Yeah, it sucks, man. I didn't even hurt it training. I don't know what I did. That's the craziest thing and the scariest thing. I don't know what I did to my back. I just woke up one day and it's like I snapped my back in my sleep. Are they going to cancel my Amazon pre-order of PS5? I want to say no. Just keep checking, but I'm going to say no, probably not. MBG, when do you think the next Xbox event will be? Well, the next Xbox event is going to be XO20 as far as I'm aware. And that's going to happen, I think, late November, maybe sometime in December, potentially. I've searched for Metal Gear Solid on PS5. There is nothing I found on YouTube. Yeah, don't worry about it, Freeze Vamp. Don't worry about it. Like, if you're worried about Metal Gear coming, listen, Metal Gear at some point in time will make a return. We just don't know when. I would have a little bit of faith in it. I mean, don't get your hopes too high, but it seems something that's likely to happen at some point. What is my favorite Bug Snacks design? I don't know. I guess the hamburger, maybe. Any tips for severe DOMS and biceps? Unfortunately, I do not have any tips at the moment. Have you known about Resident Evil reboot? Um, I don't know. I think you're talking about the movie reboot. I did hear about that, or like yeah, that it's getting 2 new movies. Have you bought your new TV yet? No, I am still torn. I think I'm gonna go with the LG CX. That one, I think that's the one everybody's saying. I was looking at the Sony AG9 or something like that as well, another OLED, but apparently, and this is weird to me, the main difference is with the CX10 OLED, it's geared much more towards gaming, and the Sony OLED is not. And I'm like, wait, doesn't Sony make the damn PS5? But I think I'm gonna go with the LG CX10 or just CX. I think that's what it stands for. I still need to play Sekiro. Yeah, I do. Where's Elden Ring? Would you be upset if the PS5 dropped the UX to 1080p to free up resources in the future? Well, I mean, look, being completely realistic right now and not, you know, I know that maybe I was completely ridiculous for going in as hard as I did. Like, I would prefer a 4K UI because I just think that it creates it's a more consistent experience. If they really needed to do that for the sake of the game, then yes, obviously I'm for that. I'd rather see the improvements made to the game because the game is what you're going to be spending the overwhelming majority of your time doing. So I wouldn't. I mean, it would be a little bit disappointing, but at the same time, be like, okay, well, if they're doing it to free up resources for future games, then fine, so be it. I can live with that. It's not a big deal. Look, I know people are like, why'd you go in so hard on that? I was just surprised, man. That's all. Like to me, it was just kind of surprising, like to hear that this, the world's most powerful console or most powerful Xbox, like, I don't know. Like, I guess my minimum expectation was a 4K UI, but it is what it is. Have you heard that the Xbox can overheat and break stuff? I'm getting the red ring of death type vibes. No, I mean, I don't think it's been overheating. I think it gets hot, but I don't think it's anything to be super concerned about. What happened to the Silent Hill and SOCOM rumors? Yeah, I don't know. They died down. If they are real, and I think they are, at least one of those two has to be real. If they are, I think we're going to learn about it sometime in 2021. I think Sony decided to save it because they revealed a lot so far. MBG, I really can't wait to see my PS5. Same here. Same here. Uh-oh, I'm losing some of these. Where did you pre-order your PS5? Or did I pre-order the PS5? What about Xbox? I did pre-order the PS5, not the Xbox. Good choice, MPG. Yeah, the LG you guys are saying is the best. I think I'm gonna go with the 55-inch if I'm able to. I think I have enough room for that. Maybe the 48-inch. I don't know. Probably the 55-inch. Do you have any recommendations for monitors, not TV? Doesn't have to be 4K. I've had an LG monitor in the past. They were really good. Right now I'm using an Acer monitor. I wouldn't recommend the Acer monitor though because my headphone port on it actually broke. The 3.5 millimeter jack, like something happened. It just broke. Now I can't use it. I have to hook my speakers directly up to the PC now, and I had it through the. So LG's they're good monitors. LG is a good brand. I like LG. They make a lot of really good stuff. Let me see here. MBG, since we see Microsoft is buying up studios, my question is, what could Sony do to keep the PS5 relevant? I think the only thing Sony really needs to do to keep the PS5 relevant is they need to continue to produce their quality first-party content and have diverse content and invest in building their studios and growing them more, which they're already doing. But something tells me the reason why we were hearing all these reports that Sony was doubling down on paying for third-party content, I think this is why. Because apparently this acquisition deal that Microsoft had with ZeniMax is something that was going on for quite some time behind the scenes. Surely Sony must have learned about it and they're like, we got to go secure third-party time content while we can. So I think maybe as I know people don't want to hear that, but I think because it's cheaper for Sony to do so is continue to invest in third party content and timed content, exclusive content of any sort. Christopher, once again, thank you for all the super chats, my friend. You're saying I just bought the 85-inch Sony X900H. I was going to buy OLED, but my budget only allowed the 65-inch CX, so I chose size over OLED. Also, did you pre-order both consoles? No, I just did the PS5. But yeah, I could understand that because I've never had a TV, I don't think, bigger than 55 inches, and I've always kind of wondered what it would be like to have something that's like 65 or 75 inches. I mean, 85 inches, that's insane. That is massive. So, when you talk about buying an OLED screen at those sizes, it gets way, way, way more expensive compared to an LED. So, I don't know, man. I guess when, let me know how it is. Like, how is it compared to your past TVs? Like, do you think do you regret it? Like, would you have liked the OLED better? I mean, everybody's telling me to go with OLED, and they're saying, like, once you go OLED, you can't go back. So I feel like that's what I'm going to do. MBG, if you haven't decided if you're going to do a face reveal one unboxing the PS5, what side have you been leaning most on? I'm leaning on yes. Like, I feel like it's a big moment, and I think that people are already going to be excited to watch an unboxing video like that. But I feel like if I make that my face reveal video, it's just going to like pump it up even more. And, it'll be maybe a segue for me to start going on camera occasionally, not all the time, but more often than I have been now, which is never. So I'm leaning more towards yes, but I can't promise anything because I don't know. I may chicken out and just be like, nah, I'll just do an overhead view where you just see my hands. Definitely not my feet, but my hands. MBG PS5's availability here in Europe was downgraded. The US apparently got the majority of PS5s for launch day. What is your take on the US getting more consoles for launch this time around? I think it's because Sony wants to compete more with Microsoft because the US is Microsoft's strongest territory. So, Sony maybe is taking advantage of their customers' loyalty a little bit where they know they have Europe locked in, most of Europe anyway, compared to Microsoft. But, the US is still kind of up for the taking because that's where Microsoft's, they're strongest. So I think that's why. MBG, if you haven't decided if you're going to, I think I read that already. Have you heard that the plot for Resident Evil reboot, they will mix in the first two games in the movie? I hope they do it right or they will fail. What do you think? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm interested. Like, I mean, look, the Resident Evil movies that have been made so far are kind of ridiculous in my opinion. So I'm interested, and I think maybe it has the potential to be really good. I'm willing to give it a chance. MBG, are you excited for the new Batman movie that's coming out in 2022? Yeah, I am. I'm the movie I'm most excited about, but also most nervous for is the next Matrix movie. The Matrix series is my favorite of all time. Specifically, the first movie is my favorite movie, I think, of all time. And Neo is like my favorite character in film. Maybe one of my favorite characters of all time. So I'm really excited for the next Matrix movie. I'm just afraid that they're gonna ruin it, man. I want to believe that they're not. Keanu says it's gonna be a great story. I think he said it's gonna be a beautiful story. So, here's hoping. Let me see. What would you recommend? Samsung QLED 4K for cheap price or the LG CX OLED 4K for a bit more expensive price? I don't know. I don't know what the difference between OLED and QLED is. I really don't know. MBG, please play Genshin Impact. I've heard good things about it. Can't promise I'm going to be able to. Josh, you're saying I had 2 spinal fusion surgeries for scoliosis 10 years ago. My back still hurts regularly. Take care of yours as often as you need to. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, man. But I definitely, when it comes to the back pain, I definitely feel your pain there because, man, I've had back issues my whole life as well, and it sucks. But I haven't had anything as serious as like spinal fusion surgery. I've been fortunate enough to, not have to go through something like that. So I'm sorry to hear that, buddy. But I do appreciate that. I've been trying my best to take care of it. You definitely don't want to make it any worse. I'm trying not to make it any worse. So Appreciate that support, buddy. Let me see here. MBG, should I get a 4K 60 monitor or settle at 1440, 144 hertz? If it were me, I mean, I can't tell you what to do, but if it were me, I would go with the 4K 60 because it seems like that's what most games are going to be targeting. Like, I think it was just revealed that Watch Dogs Legion is going to run at 4K 30, which, you know, because it's going to be doing ray tracing. So, but a lot of games I think are going to be targeting 4K 60. MVG, on November 19th, I'm going to park my car in front of the game building at 5 a.m., waiting for the stores to open at 10 a.m. for the PS5. I think a lot of people are going to be doing that. Can I use a 1080p 60 for TV for the PS5? Yeah, I believe you can. Have you seen the switcher icon on the PS5 UI? That's their quick resume version. Yeah, I think that's what it is. I mentioned that earlier in the podcast. I do think that's what it is. MBG, go for the LG. Try one out. It's brilliant TVs for gaming. I think I will. Get the CX55. It's usually only $100 more than the 48-inch. Yeah, that's crazy, that price difference. I noticed that too. PSVR 2 next year, you think? Maybe. Maybe the end of next year. I think maybe 2022 is more likely. When do you think the Horizon Forbidden West release window / date will be? I think we'll learn about it in early, if it's going to be coming out in the first half of 2021, like between January and April or May, I think we'll learn about it before the end of the year. If it's coming out later, then I think we'll learn about it sometime in the first couple months of 2021. I'll do a couple more questions here before I wrap this up. If you guys have any more, MBG, does a Nintendo Switch interest you? I do have a Switch, actually. I just don't play it very often. There's not really many games. It's usually to like play games with other people, like Smash Bros and stuff like that, but I'm really not like heavily invested into it. MBG, Sony is making Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. They're bringing back Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield in Spider-Man 3 with Tom Holland. Yeah, that sounds awesome. I'm definitely going to check that out. I know he's just a meme at this point, but I love the original Spider-Man movies. Probably because I was young, but thoughts on certain Xbox One games not being compatible, such as Master Chief Collection on Xbox Series X as of now. I don't know what to think of it. I mean, it is a little weird to me. I don't know why that would be the case, but hopefully that's not something that they run into too often. MBG, will you get an NVMe M.2 SSD later on for the PS5? I probably will. That's one thing Sony hasn't revealed yet, is how much of it usable storage is going to be available for the PS5. Something tells me it's going to be pretty low. Something tells me it's going to be in the 600s and people are not going to be happy. Potentially the 700s. So I want to say, yeah, I'm probably going to eventually. What do I think about the games on the PS Plus collection? I think they're pretty good. I think it's a really good value. If you're somebody who's played the majority of them, probably not so much. But if you haven't, then it's definitely very appealing. But that's going to do it, guys. That's going to do it for this episode of the podcast. I definitely want to end it before we hit the 3-hour mark. I am done. I need to go eat. I definitely said all I could say today. But you know, for those of you, if I wasn't able to answer your question, save it for next week. Hopefully we will be able to do another Q&A. Before you guys leave, do me a big favor, hit that like button. We crushed our goal of 750 likes. Let's see if we can get it to 800 likes. 800 likes before you guys leave. That would be fantastic. And maybe by the time this is out, we can get our way, be well on our way to 1,000 likes. So a huge shout out to all of you guys who showed up to the podcast today and hung out. It was a great time. I enjoyed it. Definitely feeling it now after taking that week off. Appreciate all of the super chats from you guys. Really means a lot to me. And I appreciate all of the interesting questions you guys asked at the end here. And a big shout out once again to all of my channel members. If you are interested in becoming a channel member, look into that, hit the join button, all that good stuff. But yeah, that's going to do it for this episode of Press X Podcast. We will be returning next Sunday, same time, same place here on the channel at 12 p.m. Eastern. And I'm sure we're going to have A lot of interesting topics to discuss once again. So that does it, guys. I will catch you later. Until next time, take care.